Fellas, welcome to Token Minority Report on Unsafe Space. I am your minority, Beverly J. Clark. Today is Thursday, August 11th, 2022, and I believe tomorrow, August 12th, might be comedian Ryan Long's birthday. We'll be talking a little bit about him tonight because I got to see him perform live yesterday in Pittsburgh. Plus, we also kind of have like an alien theme this week with the Nope and Prey films. Also, Ryan Long, because he's Canadian, so he's like the immigrant kind of alien. Anywho, let me bring on my co-host, the Abbott to my Costello, the Key to my Peele, the Fry to my Lori, and the fella to my fella, Alex Maselli. Boys.
I like the Abbott and Costello. Like, maybe not everyone knows that, like, them, but I used to watch their movies. Like, I watched like all of them, and they're so good.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I haven't really watched. I've seen just a lot of clips of them and not necessarily the full film. So I'm kind of
You have to see their horror one. It's the best one.
Oh my gosh, I would absolutely love to see a horror one with
them. Yeah, it is definitely worth watching. Because there was all those Vincent Price films with like Dracula and Frankenstein and the werewolf and everything. It's like all that kind of shit. And so it's Bela Lugosi's Dracula. It's so good. Like, it's totally worth watching. For that reason, it's a great like comedy serious crossover. Like back when, one of the first times they ever did that. It's really good.
And I always loved Vincent Price and his role as Vincent Van Gogh in Scooby-Doo. I thought he was really great as that character on there. And I was saying, fellas, I was telling Alex before this too. I got merch, and it's hard to see, but this is a Ryan Long hoodie. Actually, it's bigger on the back. Let me see if I could twist around and show.
Oh yeah, it says fellas.
Yeah, fellas. I think it's on twice. I think it says somewhere on there, but yeah, because his whole thing is the boys cast, and then he goes fellas, boys. So I haven't watched anything because I'm not a boy and I'm not allowed to, because he's very explicit about.
I haven't either. I've been kicked. I can't do it either. So we've been barred.
I know, yeah. So unfortunate. I've seen all of his like other videos and stuff too. I've seen a little bit of his long form podcast, but in his defense, it's nothing to him. I just don't watch a lot of long form podcasts outside of Unsafe Space because I do all of these ones, and so by the time I'm done, recording or anything with everyone else here, then I'm just like, well, I'm gonna watch some TV shows and movies and stuff instead. I listen to music.
Yeah, I don't always have time to watch all of our podcasts.
Yeah. I don't think anyone else does. I've always been the only one.
All the live streaming that I do, plus the day jobs and everything. I know I do too much. I'm like, Alex, finish a novel by the end of the year.
Yeah, gotta give up somewhere, and then in addition, I'm also like helping out deformed animals outside.
Yeah, that's pretty serious. Yeah.
So then when that happens, then I'm just like listening to music instead, though, because then But anyway, I wanted to just talk briefly about Ryan Long's performance last night, and then I got a photo with him too, so that was cool. Like we got to have a picture together. But he was hilarious, unsurprisingly. I can't even remember. There were a few things that were great. I don't want to spoil everything. Some of the stuff, some of the material he did, I did already kind of know because I went and watched, I caught up. I was like 5 months behind on his videos, and I went and watched everything in the last couple of days. And so some of it, he does his stand-up, clips. And so some of it too was just like, oh yeah, I already heard this. Like, it's entertaining, but I was like, oh, I already know. So then I felt bad because I'm like, I'm not laughing as hard as everyone else though. And I was like, right in front of a little bit of a distance though, but it was like in the center too though, and I was like, I'm smiling though, like it's funny. I'm just like, it's not new. It's not new. Yeah,
for you. Yeah.
But most of it, there was just a few of those too, but a lot of it I hadn't heard those. So he was hilarious. He had JJ Lieberman, I think was the opening act's name, and he was pretty funny too. my boyfriend knows more. I guess he's been on the Boys Cast and stuff, and he said that like his stage presence was a lot like more loud and aggressive than he's more toned down on the podcast and things, which I think I might enjoy more because like he was good, but it was just kind of like, oh, it's a little abrasive. But he was enjoyable. I really like the host too. I can't remember his name. It was Derek something. This was at the Pittsburgh Improv, so I assume he just hosts, however often there. But he was a funny boy. Ryan, I'm trying to think of without, you guys should go see his show, but I'm going to spoil like one or two jokes. There was one, he talks about when he has his girlfriend, he only refers to her as his chick. So he's like, my chick is blah, blah, blah. But he talked about how like, he'll always have, sex on a girl's, when she's on her period. Like he's totally fine with that. But he's like, but his chick was, pretty upset and like not feeling well and stuff too. And he's like, apparently your first period is a big deal or something.
Oh gosh.
He did a lot of like pedophilia jokes.
I've seen like clips of him, and yeah, I have noticed that there's like a theme there.
Yeah. No, it was hilarious. There were a lot of like pretty inappropriate things. A lot of, and it went on for a while. Like he had like some trans stuff, some, but like various pedophilia things too. And I can't like oh man, there were just like some good ones that I hadn't thought of. The one I also liked, he talked about like, like how there's barely legal porn. I said, what about like in like the other direction when you're like, 98 or something? And so he's just like, Agnes, we're going for one last ride. You in? And the guys are like, is this legal to have her because she's so old? And barely.
Barely. Yeah.
And he is a very tall guy. So
I could tell from the photo that you posted on Twitter that he was tall. Like he's like leaned over.
I know.
To be in the photo with you.
I was so excited because that's usually me. Like when I'm with my friends and stuff too, usually I'm the one that I feel like, oh, I should lean down a little bit to kind of that. And I knew going into it, I'm like, I know he's tall. Like I can stand straight up and not have to do that though. So it was just like, it was a conscious thing for me that I'm like, I don't have to, because I was watching him lean in with everyone else though, because he's like 6'2", 6'3", maybe. But yeah, so it was nice to stand by a very tall
I don't know, like I could tell that you were tall. Like I don't think you've ever told me like height wise what actual, but like I always got this impression that you were tall.
Yes, I am 5'7", so not like ridiculously tall, but just most of the people that I know have not been very tall. So in comparison,
I'm gonna look real tiny next to you.
You're 5'3".
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. What I find it weird when I meet a woman who's shorter than me, because I'm like 5'3" is not like even average, I would say. So I'm sort of like
5'4" is now the average. Well, that's what Lord Coley, when we were on, we did talk about heights. You were drunk that night, so
I don't remember that.
Previous stream, yeah. But when Lord Coley, when she was on too, she's 5'2", so she's an inch shorter than you are. So I'm like,
no, I do remember that now. Yeah.
Tower over all of you guys. I'm taller than Carter, despite what he says. He says he's 5'7", but I'm 5'7", and I'm taller than him. So.
Oh, I didn't know he was only 5'7".
So that's he said that in the stream too when you were drunk.
Totally.
And I just let it go. I was just like, he said it before, and I'm like, well, I won't say anything. But now I'm saying something when he's not here, so feel better about it. Okay,
I mean, that happened 2 weeks ago, and yeah, I was drunk. So at the time. A lot has happened since then.
I was just gonna show the picture and just to show.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on. I'm boomering. Of Ryan and how tall he is. Oh, that's the wrong one. Share, and then I have to go back to this screen and click on share. There. Yeah. So look at him like leaned over. Like I get to just stand as tall as I am. I think I was in like booties. I don't know if they have like a little bit like a half inch or inch heel to them. I'm like, yeah, I don't need a hunch over at all. This is a good day. He also talked about, we got the merch, so we got this, and I was telling Alex before the show too that I'm gonna wear this as long as I can, but if I get too hot, I'll have to take it off. And I have a different Ryan Long shirt underneath. And I'm already getting toasty, so we'll see. But he was talking about how this is the first night that they actually had the merch again because it was stolen in DC. And I asked him that when we were taking the photo too, and he's like, yeah, it happened twice. His merch got stolen twice.
Oh God, that is like, did they want it? Like, what? I don't know. Why would you steal merch like that? Like all of it?
Yeah, everything. So I guess it's, just people like who I'm gonna, sell this again. Or sell it to other people and trying to push like, hey, have you guys heard? This is how my boyfriend was explaining that it'd be sold like, on the street and stuff like, yeah, like, the boys cast fellas, this is the hot new show. Everyone's wearing them. So you'd be like, okay, yeah, like I want this shirt. I want this hoodie. But speaking of Carter, I felt like since this video clip is still here, let's just listen. We'll have a little bit of Beyonce recited. The lyrics recited by our favorite rapper,
yes,
MC Laren.
Cool it down, 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 my pretty. Bad, bad bitch. Make the bad, bad glitchy. Fine, 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 fine.
Yeah, it's still funny.
Yeah, I just watched it like before because I was like, oh yeah, let me replay. I was showing my boyfriend the clip too, though, and that made me laugh then. Like 20 minutes ago, I'm still laughing at every time. It's bad, bad bitch, fun, just coming from him every single time. I don't know, it doesn't get old.
And the fact that he just like loses it right, and then the clip cuts off in the middle of him losing it. I love it.
Also, I was playing around with end credits, so I have some new ones up though. Yeah, so I've got some extra stuff there. We'll see. But also, welcome Johnny Boy Quick Draw, JB, Park Nelson, Gabba Gabba. I'm just reading here. Oh gosh, JB says he's got time to watch whatever. Barely live porn. Oh gosh, JB.
That's disturbing.
I'm not responsible for what I said in chat while you were drunk. And he says that Carter's the worst rapper ever, and I'll buy an album of it just to piss people off. Yeah. Johnny Boy says he's a great orator. I think so too. He can really, really recite those well. Yeah, so just generally Ryan Long was great. His tour is still continuing. I forget what the name of the tour is called now. Whatever the current one is, though, it was funny. And he has that white immigrant on his YouTube channel too, like the full 45 minutes of it. So that was good. I was worried. My boyfriend's like, you might not want to watch it. He might just like recycle the material, but he did not. I was like, this is a totally different show. He shouldn't be recycling it. He was only recycling some of the other clips that he showed. That wasn't from but that's okay. But Gilf Brian Yoder says Gilf is a thing. Is that grandmother?
Grandma, I'd like to fuck.
Yeah, grandma. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I believe that. If they're not like super old, they're like the young kind of grandma who had children.
I would say that like
young.
Jess Lane was for quite a while a Gilf.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, what does she look like? I don't remember what people look like.
She was on the American Horror Story.
Oh, yeah, I agree. Yes. Okay, I'm bad with names. Yes, she's definitely a Gilf.
Yeah.
I think she's not one anymore?
Probably not. I think she tipped over into not sexy anymore.
GGILF.
Formerly Gilf.
Just saying great grandma. I'd like to. All right. Yeah, I agree with that. Okay. So let's get into which one are we starting with? Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. I saw it a couple weeks ago now, so I need to remember everything about it. What were your general thoughts on this film?
It was kind of funny because there was this point where I was watching it in one of the earlier chapters and I went, why is it so fucking dark? I can't see anything. Like, why do they do this all the time in Hollywood? They just don't want you to see anything. And then the final act of the movie, the climax of the movie, fucking desert daylight. And I'm like, yes.
Why couldn't they be filming this during daytime?
I know. if they'd done all of it in daytime, I would have been so fucking pleased. But there were so many episodes so many scenes earlier, like when they were like building the tension, when it was absolutely like dark and I could not tell what was going on.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to remember because I saw it in theaters, and I know that your theaters in Arizona or Phoenix right now do not have AC, so you have been not watching. So I think in the theater it was brighter. So my version, I don't remember it being so dark that I couldn't. Unlike what's the Terminal List, where I was just half of that first episode. I'm like, I have no idea what was going on. But I don't remember thinking that for Nope in theaters. So. Yeah, I must have just, I don't know, maybe the way that it was done with the theater or the copies and stuff.
True.
So that's,
I mean, it kind of depends on what like equipment the theater is rocking.
Yeah,
like that does matter. Like
some sort of old school projector, because I remember the one guy cleaning up when I saw his shadow as he like walked by at the top of it though too. So it's just like, yeah, okay, I know what you guys are doing.
That's funny. But like I was pleased by I mean, like even if like in the theater, if that final act had been like in your situation in still dark but not like completely dark, I still think that would have been a cop out. Like, so I felt like that you made the right decision there to do that fine, because first of all, they're trying to catch a picture of it or catch it on film,
and
so you would want to do that during the day.
Yeah.
And then, although I will admit this, it is very clear, because it almost always is clear, that when they film the desert, they put a light filter over the, the cameras or maybe in post. I think on the cameras though, because if you go outside in the desert, like during like the summer and heat, it is basically impossible to see anything. Like even outside of the city, like if you're in like a dirt area, that light bounces off of everything and is blinding. Like it is too bright, and it's really hard to get photos and film in that kind of situation, because it's like it's too much light. You have a possible whiteout problem essentially.
Yeah, so, I mean, you can adjust like aperture and the white balance stuff, and I forget what is it called, because we used to have the lens filters. My gosh, this is embarrassing because I have a film degree, but like there are filter, like polarized filter or something, whatever it is, that like it darkens it up, so that way like you just put it on the lens, and it does, like when it's too bright out, it just darkens it a bit though. So I'm sure they had to do like something to like, hey, we can actually, because we would have to do that when that was in Pittsburgh. Like sometimes it's like it is just sunny out, so it's too bright.
Yeah.
You need to have it, and I can imagine when it's sun just everywhere in the desert and light reflecting from the hard ground.
It literally does reflect off of the ground. It's kind of insane. It's worse if you're anywhere near like a body of water though, because that makes it even like sharper. But I did appreciate that he did that, but the theme of the movie is very clearly about problems with how Hollywood tries to sensationalize things to the extent that they don't even care about life. And they have a lot of hubris about life and the danger to life over trying to get their sensation. Like he's literally said that that's pretty much what the movie is about. But my problem with that as a theme is that it's like, I'm gonna make a movie about Hollywood sensationalism and then release it in theaters worldwide with big Hollywood studio backing and have lots of sensationalization in the movie. And I mean,
trying to make a point.
Yeah, I know. The only thing that like really like counterbalances that a little bit is that we don't actually see like what happened with Gordy on the TV show. Like he talks about it, but he doesn't show it.
Yeah. So first I'll say that Jillian Colucci says, I didn't like how it looked like one thing the entire movie, and then they didn't show the transition into the being it was for the finale. And we're gonna just do like full spoilers on everything here too. So but to back up, because I do want to get like Gordy was a big thing that I want to talk about. But so just generally, I enjoyed the film. I thought it was a well done and interesting. I'll say that it was slow. It was a little too slow paced for me though. So it, and I think it was is intentional, like the way, like the pace, because I think Jordan Peele does everything like pretty intentionally. He has a lot of nuance in his writing and directing style, but it was just kind of like, even if that is the intention, it's just not exactly for me, because it was a lot more like exposition. I think it would have helped me if they like threw in some more of just kind of the drama of the film earlier on, because it didn't get into it until more later. But I'll say too, like even the one scene with the fake aliens where the kids were like in the whatever that barn was, and I'm like, that was legitimately creepy. Like I didn't realize what it was going to be, and so just seeing them there, like the way that scene was done, I'm like, yeah, I'm spooked by this. But yeah,
I was immediately though like, why don't you have a gun? I'm like,
right? Yeah, like because everyone would. I mean, I don't know what animals you have out there to like protect, but like you would have something to help protect you from whatever. And we have that here, but I guess I don't know what like California
coyotes for
desert
one
is
thing.
much. Yeah, okay, yeah.
And I mean, coyotes can seriously injure a horse and possibly lead to its death. So and most places in the Southwest consider them varmints that you can kill because
here too.
So I'm like, I could foresee him at least having some kind of rifle, like honestly,
right.
like, you know, not even like a really powerful one, like just a 22, like, because you wouldn't take much to protect horses from coyotes. But like, I'm like, why didn't he have a gun? And it's like, the only reason he doesn't have a gun is because this is Hollywood. And like, I know it takes place in California, but he's still a rancher.
Right.
And
you're like,
so,
you're outside of LA. I know you're close enough to LA to be selling there, but like, yeah, you've got a lot of acreage and like, who knows what, it's silly to not, I can't imagine that any farmers out in California, like the ones who don't have guns, even like with vineyards and things, like they gotta have something.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't believe that he wouldn't have one. Like, especially if like things were getting weird and stuff. And it was, speaking of which, things were getting weird, is that like you hear a radio saying something about hikers going missing. And I was all like, why would the thing take hikers first when this is ranch land and there's a lot of animals around? Like, what wouldn't people be noticing that their animals were going missing? Like first, like that seems like the first thing you notice. Like, but no one ever talked about that happening until like it was happening to them.
Because they have all the coyote. No one has guns out there, so they're just used to the animals getting killed by coyotes. So like the animals.
You'd find a body though, probably.
Yeah. Maybe, I don't know. It's big. I like JB also says we have large apes here that go through the trash. Homo sapiens, I believe. But yeah, what was the? Yeah, I agree with you that it, like that seems kind of silly for it. But I also, just to get it out of the way, the things where I was just like, oh, I don't know, because again, like all movies, everyone is very like wary of like how woke is this going to be, like how preachy or something. And I'll say that the only part that I thought could be considered, inching toward the woke is when Keke Palmer was like explaining the history of like the motion pictures and how it was a black man riding on a horse, which I didn't even know. Like I didn't remember that it was a black guy who rode on it. So it was informative for me. And so the way she was just kind of, but I thought it was like, this is a very historical context. Like, and it was related because they're horse trainers and stuff. They have a horse farm.
And they say they're related to him.
Yeah.
The reality is though that no one knows who that jockey was.
So they're like that. I don't know if they're like, oh, you're just making that up as the character, or that maybe I can suspend my disbelief and say they're like, oh, they just knew that somehow, blah blah, like whatever. So I'd say that was
one of two things could happen there in story. Like one, they're lying, or two, someone lied a long time ago and they believe it's true.
Yeah.
So
or
like
the third option, that it really is that, and it was just an oral history that the guy like mentioned, so then it's just been passed down to it. I can, but like regardless of it, I like sure whatever, like it's fine. And that was like pretty much the only thing that I was worried though, because like Kiki's character, I was just like, where are you gonna be? Like what line are you riding here? And I'll get into her too. I like her performances. I keep seeing her and stuff recently because she was in Nope. She's rewatched the show Scream Queens, and she's in that. She voiced one of the main characters in Lightyear. And then I remember her. It wasn't too long ago when I rewatched the TV series Scream. So she was in Scream Queens and Scream. So she's just been in everything, and I like that she does kind of switch it up a little bit there, because like in Nope, she was a lot more, I don't know, like she was kind of like tomboyish and her, like the clothes that she wore, like her hair and stuff, just she wasn't as like girly as she in Scream Queens. She was a lot more like kind of I guess professional when she was like, oh, I'm going to be a doctor and stuff too. And so she didn't have that same, like, I don't know, like her character was just a lot more like loose in Nope. And then so she is it. Actually, I was just kind of surprised to see like, oh, you can kind of switch up your character and subtly too. That I'm like, you're like a little bit like her whole thing was like kind of annoying and Nope. Like this is just her energy. Like she's just kind of like always like kind of hyper and everything. And because it seemed pretty natural, like, oh yeah, like if I were around you in real life, like you'd just be a little bit too much for me. I'm like, but she's either able to put on that personality as an actress, or like she's able to, if that is her normally, she's able to tone it down when she's like playing other things that are like more reserved. So I guess just watching her so much, I'm like, I think I like you. And in the Scream, she was a way more like activist and like obnoxious as like this feminist thing too, though. So it was just like Nope, but a little bit more like inner city kind of girl and in an activist way. And I was just like, but at the same time, like you're annoying and obnoxious, like, but I think I still kind of like you. Like, so she was still able to like make it endearing. So I think I like Keke Palmer as an actress ultimately.
One problem I had with her part in the movie, it wasn't her necessarily, it was a writing thing. We don't see her for quite a while in screen time at the beginning of the movie, and then the climax follows her to Jupiter's, whatever that place was called, the Jupe's like carnival. Ranch. And that bothered me because I was like, I expect that the character I'm going to follow in the climax is the character that you're going to spend the most amount of time on in the beginning of the movie. And that was, OJ. That was not her. So but that's not like on either of them, obviously. That's on Peele. Like, and you can do that. Like, obviously Psycho does it, but one of the ways in which Psycho does it is that like you follow someone in the first act and she dies. And it was shocking at the time. He deliberately made that choice. And I don't know that Peele is deliberately making that choice to wait so long to introduce her and then have her do the climax. Like, it seems really weird.
Yeah. I mean, I guess like, so she was supposed to seem like kind of flaky because like, oh, she's doing this other thing. So that's why she's not there. She's not showing up. And so I guess like character wise, like that's, I think why that, but yeah, I think maybe we should have seen her not be there, like seen her elsewhere on screen.
Maybe
to show it.
I think maybe she should have been there when the dad is going to the hospital.
Yeah.
Because that is our first scene with people, is that like instead of the sounds going on around Gordy, I feel like that's what it comes in on, is that. But I feel like when, he's father and son, Keith David and him and OJ are talking and whatever, and that's fine. But like, and then they're rushing to the hospital. Like, where is she when her father is dying? And that's our most pivotal scene to show OJ, essentially. And our most pivotal scene to see her is her showing up late to a filming. And I'm sort of like, she's not that, at this point, she's not that interesting. She's not as interesting as OJ. And that's kind of a problem for making her the center of the climax. And like I said, this is all from a writing perspective. And like, it kind of bothers me.
I mean, maybe if it were more about them and the climax together, because it was just like, oh, you got to see that like he potentially got taken by the alien or whatever the monster is. And so then it was up to her, but like, I think it would have been better because they were separated. Like, oh, you're doing this thing, I'm waiting up here. And then we're each doing our own thing. But if they were, hey, we're both on we're on horses together, we're doing so, that it was just like, this is our relationship as siblings trying to overcome something, and then OJ gets taken and it's up to her. Like, I think that would have been more okay if we got to see them like trying to do something together first, and then she like finishes it up. But because they start off as like, we're so far apart, like we're distant emotionally, and them trying to like rebond toward the end, and him getting taken away, like maybe that might have helped.
It probably would have, because there's also, you're right, there's a lot about their sibling relationship not really working. And then we don't really get much of a payoff on that, actually. It's more just
there
like,
it's multiple things. So I used the word no payoff, or the term phrase no payoff.
Yeah, I was like,
we'll
there's that moment where they like high five a bunch, you know, because the guy shows up with a film camera and whatever, and like, and that's like that's their most like together moment. Like, even during all the climax, they're physically far apart. He's telling her to leave so that she survives. And I don't know. It's just, it was like a little frustrating that I was like, I don't feel like I got, like, she's happy to see him in the end, you know?
Yeah.
But
I
like,
too, I'm like, is this a delusion? Is she like, just because it's a desert mirage? Like, is he really there? Like, and I knew too, his survival, or my like of the film was dependent on his survival, because I was like, if he ended up dying, then that was just going to be, I hated this movie. So it was very, very close.
See, and that's the thing, is that I think a part of the reason why you felt that way is because OJ was
the protagonist.
He was the protagonist of this freaking movie.
Yeah.
That's kind of painful.
Also, just to note, I had to figure out how I was going to phrase what I was saying earlier when we're talking about the climax, because I was going to say something about how they were climaxing together and I was just like, no, don't say it like that. So, but just so you know, that was going through my head at the time.
Especially like because they're brother and sister.
Yeah. So that's why I just had to be more wordy with how, like, oh, if they just came together as siblings during the climactic part of the film.
Yeah, that explains the way you went slower and articulated.
Yeah. Glad you caught on to that, but that was exactly why that happened. Also, Jillian says that she was late to the show, late to the death, late to saving it all. So yeah, that's a good point too. Also, I think we have someone in chat, Dan did not, who I think is a troll, but I'm kind of confused by what he's saying in there. So just noting that I acknowledge his trolliness, I think. But I'm confused.
I can't even tell what he's saying. Yeah.
I know. Yeah. I'm not sure. I'm not sure
what that means. Yeah.
But anyway, let me think. Okay. So we had the finale, the sibling, the Gordy. So I want to address Gordy. I think that was the biggest problem that I had, was that I thought it was really interesting. I thought the flashback scene, and for those who haven't seen the film or don't remember, Gordy was the chimpanzee and it was a 90s sitcom, Gordy's Home, I think was the name. And Stephen Yun's character, who was Jupiter, who had the ranch, who was the neighbor rancher, who had a whole, like, whatever it's called, like the carnival thing. Yeah. So when he was a child actor on the show, Gordy the chimp had a freak out and attacked his castmates, and so like they had so he was traumatized during it. But I felt like there wasn't enough payoff for the flashback scenes that we kept cutting back to for that whole thing, because I thought initially when we saw, I'm like, oh, is this going to be about animals? Like something's going on, like, because I didn't know what the alien things were going to be. So I thought like, oh, something's going on, or like animals are being controlled and attacking, or so I thought the horses were going to end up being like the villains in it. And when they started off with, and so it just went in a totally different direction than that.
So it's kind of, and this is a theme even with Jean Jacket, the monster. The idea is that you can't control nature, and Hollywood would like to control nature in order to make it sensationalist bullshit. So that includes the horses that are being trained for Hollywood and the rodeo. That includes Gordy, the chimpanzee, and that includes Jean Jacket. Because I don't know if you noticed that, but there's this point where Jupe is all like, oh, I saw an alien. And like, that's what his show is about. Like, it's not really, it's like fake, but at the same time, it's kind of ironic in this idea that he's saying that, oh, I saw an alien and this spectacle is about you seeing an alien. So spectacle is a word that's like really intense in this movie. So like all of this is about trying to control nature for the dumbest reason. Spectacle.
Right. and I thought that's where they were kind of going, and that's why it was related, because it was just like, oh, you're not gonna, like, you can tame animals, but that doesn't mean that they're like domesticated, that like that they're still wild, and that and something still might happen. However, the reason why I was kind of iffy on that was that Jupe was saying he thought it was a UFO. Like he thought it was, like, he didn't describe it as like this monster. He was kind of, the way at least he was explaining it as the character, seemed to think it was like a spaceship rather than an animal. So that's where I was just like, well, if he talked more about it being a monster or something to like try and tame, I think it would have related more for me.
I think the point is that Jupe is closer to Hollywood than anyone else. So he, like, for one thing, he's still trying to control the situation, and
whatever it might be, and so
whatever it's going to be,
take advantage of it.
And then also, to be fair, most of us, if we saw a flying saucer, our first thought is not going to be alien, like, body that's floating around. It's going to be alien spaceship that has aliens inside it.
Right.
That's our first thought. So most of us are going to think that, like, if we don't get a really good, eye on it. So to me, that's not like all that out of the realm of possibility. It's not until like they're clear it's eating people that they're like, oh no, this is a fucking animal.
I guess even if I guess the control thing, even if he thought there were aliens inside it, that he's like, I want to be able to, like, hey, I am trying to tame you, however that might be. Also, to Jillian in chat, when she says it's rodeo, does that mean like even when you're at, like, because it had like the little park thing where it was just like all the different stands and stuff, and like the stores and all that, is that still considered a rodeo, like a whole thing?
I don't think most rodeos have that. None of the ones I've ever been to have it. So it's like a rodeo / carnival, like, but it's a stable carnival, so it's like a little bit of a mini park. Like, it's really weird. I felt really sorry for him, by the way, and his family, and
his
all the
whole
people
situation was so sad. I guess that's the thing too, that it seemed kind of weird to have that backstory, because Jupe wasn't a main character, he was a supporting character. So just having this history for him, while interesting, it seemed kind of weird to, like, I understand what it might be trying to convey as far as like the theme of it, but it was just kind of also, I don't know, like something about just having like, here's this supporting character and we're getting flashbacks about your life, though it seemed kind of out of place a bit. So it's, I don't know. So just like my boyfriend and I were talking, we were kind of saying that maybe, because he was like, should it have been, it was already a long film, but should it have been longer to give more time to develop? And I said, maybe it could have been like a TV series, like a mini series or something. So then that way you have like a full episode, like it makes more sense to have like, here's Jupe's episode. We get his backstory on like why he's the way he is. And you just get to kind of develop. I think I would have been really interested in it as like a 6-episode mini series to kind of just see it all.
I probably would have too. And not a lot of people notice this, but the movie's broken up into chapters named after animals. And in every chapter, the named animal dies. Except for Lucky.
Right, yeah.
Because he's lucky.
It was kind of jarring to me, because at least if it happened, I didn't notice it when the chapters came in, because there wasn't a chapter at the very beginning, was there?
No, there
wasn't.
And
I think there should have been, because once it started with Ghost and it just had that big black screen with the giant letters of Ghost on it, I was like, what's happening? Like, why is this here? And it took me until the second time to see like, oh, we're doing chapter names now. But it should have started with it, of whatever it might be, like OJ or have you, I guess he survived. So like whatever you want to name it.
I guess his dad's
Jean
name?
Jacket or something, but
the last chapter.
Oh, it is. Okay, so then the dad's name, because he dies. Yeah. So actually, that'd be perfect for it. So I think they should have started with that, because like when it came in, it was just kind of like, what's happening? I was confused for a while too, and then forgot about it. And then once the next chapter came, I'm like, oh, okay, I see what you're doing here. I'm like, yeah, it should have started with it.
So I was gonna say that so the thing is about the Gordy thing is that that's based on a real life thing that happened.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, I'm not
A
surprised by
chimp
that.
did lose like its shit on a set and beat someone, but they reacted a hell of a lot faster in reality than in this movie. In this movie, it seemed to take at least 15 minutes for anyone to do anything about this.
Where was everyone? Like, wasn't there like a live studio audience and then anyone?
Like by the time we're seeing it, the audience and the crew have already run out of the studio.
I just feel like if you had like 10 guys jump on this chimp that you'd be able to hold it down. And yet, I don't know. That's why I thought it was like something, especially with the shoe standing up, where I'm like, oh, is this a supernatural thing? Like the chimp has like extra powers, or I'm like, but oh, it was just a chimp that went crazy. I'm like, why couldn't a group of like you're gonna have muscular men doing tech work and stuff too, that like they're gonna be, I think together you might be able to you can pin down a child-sized creature.
I mean, they're super fucking strong, and we do have a lot of rules around how old chimps can be to be in Hollywood stuff.
Okay.
But we also have a lot of more safety procedures around it now. Like, for example, there'd be someone on set to contain the chimpanzee if something
right. Yeah. That's why I'm like, I'm not surprised that they're strong. Like they've got a lot more, they are down more on all fours than humans are. But I don't know. Like, I just think that like, oh, when you have a pile-on of like 20 guys that you can just sit on it and like take it down.
I'm pretty sure 20 guys could take down a chimp.
Yeah. It's not a gorilla. I don't know. So like, and like when you're doing a TV show, like there are a bunch of people here. So I don't know. It's just plus
they're all
like,
a bunch of cowards.
Yeah.
Maybe the idea is that they're all a bunch of cowards.
Maybe
but I really like question like how like you didn't have anyone on set that's job is to wrangle
there was no chimp wrangler. The chimp just comes in and Gordy comes in on his own and he's
and you're like, oh hey Gordy, can I get you a drink before we start filming? Like what the fuck? And then at the same time, like there's when we do cut back and that one guy like comes out and he starts screaming at Gordy to like no, and then Gordy beats him, and I was like, what kind of fucking idiot yells at an animal that just attacked someone? Yeah. Like, do you want it to be more aggressive? Like, because that's how you make it more aggressive. I was like, yeah, threaten it. That'll work.
Like, I'm trying to think how I deal.
So stupid.
I don't deal with chimps, but I deal with big birds. So then when they're mad, yeah, like usually, and sometimes too, like I'll get down, like when Lemon grabs the goose, like and he's mad. So like I've started to like, oh, I just like kneel down to get more eye level with him and see like, and sometimes that helps too. Other times I do, like I said, like if you get 20 guys like to sit on them, I have to sit on Lemon grab, like not like all the way, but like you hold him down a little bit and like you squat on him to like keep him from getting up though. So like not too much pressure, but enough that he can't flip out.
When I have the opportunity, when Missy is running around the room and everything, like I'd get her to jump up on the bed and then I lay my head on top of her and, and then she like chills out for a bit. And I'm like, I don't know why this makes you calm. Like, I don't know, maybe it's that like cats like to pile up on top of each other and everything.
Yeah, just having.
But she really likes that, and like she'll start like rubbing on my head or whatever. But yes, someone said chimps are stupid strong.
Yeah, they will rip your face off. Literally, Charla Nash, she had a face transplant because of chimp attacks. Scary. Yeah, I don't doubt that they're strong, but I think that if you get a bunch of guys to sit on them, you'll be able to take them down. Like it's just a pile on. But maybe not. Maybe that chimp would just like break free.
Like Neo.
Maybe we can just go flying. I don't know. I guess it's possible. But like but Gordy, he didn't look like the strongest chimp out there. But
that's why they always use young chimps because they're not as strong. That's the thing. Like they like older chimp. I think it's like an 8-year time period that they're allowed to use chimps, and I think after that they're like too strong. It's too strong. It's too dangerous.
Go through
that one was young. Like I know it's a CGI chimp, but it was young.
It didn't. And I thought it was, I don't know, it was I like the afterward I like the perspective, so you see it underneath, like, you see, like, little veil from whatever, and you're just you don't know what you're seeing it through until, like, because it flashes back a few times, and eventually you realize, "Oh, we're watching through Steven Yeun's character." And so he's just this kid, like, terrified, but I like when Gordy, like, goes up after he's, like, beaten up everyone else, and he comes up to him, and they have their whole, like, the part of the TV shows that they do, like, the fist bump.
fist bump,
And so then at the end, like, he comes up and his fist is all bloody and he just holds it up, and then Jupe is just the little boy is like, "Yeah, okay," and about to
That
do
is,
it.
you know what? And honestly, in that situation, that was probably the smartest thing he could have done.
Yeah, is to just, like, okay, like, try to calm him down, he seems calm here, and, like, 'cause if you
He
said
actually
no.
The chimp actually asked him a question that using sign language.
Oh, what did he ask? I don't remember
He said something, I think he said something like, "Why isn't mother getting up?"
Oh, okay, did you have to just understand sign language, or was it
Basically, or look up a
okay.
translation.
Okay. I don't even remember again, I need to have watched it today to remember all the details, but yeah, like, that's how I kinda think too, because similarly with, like, the geese, I think, like, animals sometimes when they get into, like, this rage, and it's kind of an instinctual thing, because again, they don't have brains like humans, and so I think sometimes, like, Lemongrab will just be like, "Oh, I'm okay now, like, why are you so bruised and upset?" And, like, because he doesn't
You're like, "I'm
remember
chill now.
yeah,
Where
like,
are
"What's
you?
your
Where are you?"
problem?" And he just doesn't remember that, like, "Man, you were just freaking out. I got wing slapped in the face, like, whatever happened." So but then that's why too, because it's just like, I don't get too upset, like, or I might be, like, mad in the moment, like, "That hurt, like, you're an asshole," but then after too, I'm just like, "You're a bird brain," so it's just kinda like, "That's you," and because I think my boyfriend would get more offended by it too. I'm like, "It's not intentional. He doesn't." Uh, that's just like, especially because Tui, like, is the girl goose, and I've heard from other people when they say that, like, the female geese will egg on the other, so they yell, and that just, like, enrages the male geese, the ganders, and to attack, and they don't even know why they're doing it. They're just, like, hearing, they're like, "Yeah, get him, and so they just do.
When Missy is like, Missy bites me more than Lily does. Like, and I'm like, I don't do anything. And I'm like, and I'm frustrated because I know I can't do anything because she's like so much weaker than me.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, my cat Corey, like I'm glad he doesn't do this anymore. But when he was younger, like I'd sit on the floor, like on my computer and stuff, and he'd run around, and then he'd hop onto my head and just like
Oh
bite me on
God.
the head and and chew on it. And then like or other times too, he'd like hunt me. Like he'll hop out from like a room or something to just bite onto my calf, and
Oh,
he's
ow.
so yeah, bleed and stuff too. And like you're the worst. But because he's really playful, but he's just a cat, so he's aggressively playful
Yeah.
and doesn't understand, but
Lily's like that when I go upstairs. Like, she will chase me up the stairs and bite my calves as I
yeah.
go up the stairs. Once she bit my calf so hard, like I was not expecting it. I was downstairs and I was like walking around doing stuff for like getting coffee and breakfast and stuff. And all of it out of nowhere, she leaps forward and just digs into my freaking calf, and I was like, ah! I like literally screamed, and I was like, that hurt! I'm like pointing at her, and she's like, wow, you're overreacting.
Yeah. Like, geez, like, okay, calm down. We were just playing.
Yeah, I know. I'm just playing with you.
I'm all kinds of like scratched up and cut and bruised and stuff too from that. So it's just like, yeah, they're all terrible. But I love animals, but like I get very beaten up by them. My rooster, he's doing so much better from after like his fox attack. The tail feathers are growing, and he's just
that's
has
good.
his little attitude again too. It's just like, I'm tough shit, so don't come near me. And so I'm like,
Did not
okay.
learn his lesson.
Yeah, like, even though I nursed you back to health, and, like, I hand fed you everything, though, we were friends for a while, and I was just like, "I don't even know who you are, so why don't you not stay away from my ladies?" But I'm like,
Oh
"Okay, at
God.
least, like, you're back to, like, you're crowing and stuff too," so I'm just like, I'm happy that he's back, but now I also have to just be like, I can't turn away from him because he likes to sneak attack, so that I just have to like stay facing him and back away out of the coop area. All right. Hi, G-Man. L Vecaro 555. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right at all, but he says he will not take on a chimp unless he has something in his hand that goes bang. I have a bruise from a different gun today.
Whoa.
When I was like sliding it back, it pinched me, but my boyfriend just got his what is it, a 30 special something that similar to a 9mm but like faster, smaller rounds but faster, so he can conceal carry soon. But we shot that out earlier and it was nice. Like it doesn't have as much of a kickback as my other handguns do though. So I had to figure out my aiming because I'm used to having to aim like a little lower because I can't hold it. Well, I'm not good with handguns, but this one I was like, yeah, I'm doing it. All right. But I don't know. Are you better with Spanish names? Is it going to be Vaquero? Is it
Vaquero?
No, it's just Vaquero. El Vaquero. Says my goats come up and grab my shirt tails when they want to pet. Oh, yeah, that's what like my geese just constantly chew on my hair and when I'm back out there, I'm like, I just showered. I don't want you getting grass I'll let them chew on it before I shower because like, yeah, whatever. So it'll be like all tangled up and grass all throughout it. But they love it. Anytime I'm just leaning down for something and then just all of a sudden when I look over like, oh, hey guys, didn't see you there. I love animals no matter how much they hurt me. How painful it is. Back to Nope. What else? Other things that stuck out to you? I have to think about the cinematographer. I kind of had some things about him, but what were you going to say?
I was going to say that he showed us the people inside Jean Jacket after they got eaten. And
oh yeah, that's right.
And since we followed Jupe so much, we thought, well, maybe are they going to be able to save these people? And no, he just wanted to show us that to freak us out.
Or just seeing the weird inside that like reminded me of like going into like a fun house sort of thing at a car or whatever.
Like when you were a kid and you guys got to play with the hot air balloon or the parachute thing and
that you go in. Yeah. I was thinking, you go in. In the fun houses, you get like, you get squeezed through because you have like the weird like punching bag sized things that you're like having to like walk through, like, oh, what is this? And you can't see it. So that's what I was just and they had like the fleshy looking stuff. And so I'm like, yeah, I thought that was, I don't know, it was kind of artsily done, but then you just, we're just watching them die. Okay, there's nothing else to
They're all screaming and crying, and it's like, this might be a bit much. And I'm like, and this movie is about sensationalism? Like, come on. I don't know. That part like made me uncomfortable.
Yeah, it was, and I guess maybe we got to see just to understand, which I already did by that point, but it was just kind of see like, that's why we had all those things like raining out from the sky was because, Jean Jacket, the monster was pooping it all out or vomiting it out, whatever it was. When also, did they in the movie when the dad, OJ Sr., was that his name? Had gotten hit.
Keith David.
Did they keep referring to it as a quarter? Though that he got hit because we thought when we were watching it was a nickel that got hit, but then my boyfriend was like, I think they kept calling it a quarter though, so that was bothering him, but I don't even remember what they had called it, so he was bothered by that. I don't
remember what they called it either. I had to watch that part again to even see it. Like
okay, yeah.
So I was like, what happened? Like he got hit in the head. Like I could tell
that's why
like, the first time.
I thought
but
it was
tell.
I thought like whatever was falling, I thought it was something where it's just like, whatever alien thing took over. So that's why I kind of thought like the horse was gonna turn on it, or because the horse was gonna walk, and I thought like, is it going to be evil now and it's gonna turn and attack? Because here's just this weird thing that's taken over. But again, it went in a very different direction than I expected.
The thing is, though, is that I was like, how? When I watched it the second time, I was like, how did he not lose his hat after being hit by that coin?
Yeah, because they like hit him right on the face, like or in the eye or something too.
Yeah, it hit him in the eye. But even if you were like looking up or whatever, being like hit, like like I would just figure his hat would fall off. I don't know. Like
I was also confused, and I kept thinking about this and never remembering to actually look it up, but I was wondering how much damage realistically can that do? Because I thought, when they once everything reaches terminal velocity and it's the same speed, so I thought like Mythbusters did a thing about like dropping a penny off of the Eiffel Tower or whatever, that it will reach a certain point and it won't do like too serious of damage. But I don't. But again, that's just what I'm vaguely remembering, and I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, even if he like spit it all out with force, I think by the time it reached the ground level where people are, it would have leveled out its velocity.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Because even when you shoot a gun up in the air, once it falls down, it's only so like it's not going to have the same amount of damage as when you're just like shooting it directly at something. So that's why I was just and I don't know like if anyone in chat does know the sign, like if whether that was realistic or not, but I was just like my initial reaction was like that doesn't seem realistic to have done that much damage. But maybe
the other thought I had actually is that as I thought about the idea of like if he was looking up, he would have lost his hat or whatever, is that if he was looking up and it hit him, I don't think he would have stayed on the horse either, actually. He either would have fallen off the side or like he probably would have fallen back and then to the side, because the idea is like if your head's back and you're gonna start falling, you're gonna fall backwards. You're not gonna fall forward. I mean, he's like slumped forward.
Yeah,
on the horse.
Yeah, because I guess if it did enough damage that it looked like to cause the brain damage or whatever in his head, then yeah, that seemed like there was a lot of force enough to like knock you a certain direction. So G-Man says, yeah, it's realistic. The whole movie is realistic.
Yeah. Well, Jillian has a good question about what the fuck was with the blood raining down.
Yeah. I still don't understand why the blood rushed out. Was it digestion? Was it a blocked bowel from the horse? I thought they were saying that it did not like the flags and then the plastic horse or something. So I thought it was that it did not like it, so it like vomited it back up, and it was, I don't know if that was the human's blood or its own blood. I assumed it was just like the blood of all of its victims.
I thought so too. And also I thought it was pretty amazing that OJ figured out that if he didn't look at it in the same way if he didn't look at other animals, that it wouldn't attack. Like, I don't know about you, but it was a big risk. It was a huge risk because, by the way, you turn your back on a cat, that thing is on you.
I was just saying about my rooster too. Yeah, that like I couldn't look away. I had, because when you have to
maintain eye contact with some animals, otherwise they will come for you. So it's like that was basically 50-50. That was an insane risk that he just took.
Hopefully this thing reacts like horses do. And at first I was bothered, but and it took me a minute to understand that he like where he was you can't look at the horse in the eye, you can't do anything, blah blah blah. I'm like, why? Like, this doesn't seem like a horse that should be being used during the film. And it was like, oh, that's the point, is that he's a bad trainer and that he wasn't like these horses are still pretty wild and such. But which then you're seeing here's this monster, which I don't even know, we never established, is this an alien monster or is this just a creature that lives in the sky somehow that stays around Earth, and are there more of these things? So we never even got to know that information. What is this movie? What movie is this again? It asks El Vaquero. It is called Nope by Jordan Peele. Of Key and Peele. I always have to think about which one's which, and that their name, anytime I see them, I just always think Key and Peele is the name first, and have to remember that they are two separate individuals.
Honestly, if I was going to rank Peele movies, Get Out is still number one, because it's very well done, very well written. It has a message about false allyship, which I thought was actually kind of a reasonable attack. And then after that is Us. It's kind of about someone, the problem with trying to control large populations. Pretty good.
I haven't seen Us.
Yeah, it's not as good as Get Out. And then Nope is below that. So it's like you're getting worse, and I'm worried here. Yeah. I'm starting to think we have an M. Night Shyamalan situation on our hands here.
kind of a one-hit wonder and or at least like slowly
devolving.
lowering
the quality. That's my perspective anyway. I know other people could disagree, that they think maybe Nope is better, or maybe Us is better, but that's just how I feel about it so far.
All right, I'll have to watch Us and then compare it, because I don't know. I'd say, and it's been so long since I've watched Get Out, so I should rewatch it. But I remember enjoying it when I did, and I think, at least I'm just trying to remember like my emotional reaction to them, and I'd say that I enjoyed Get Out more than I did Nope emotionally. The message of Get Out was white women be crazy, says Julia. Yeah.
Somewhat true. I'm allowed to say that.
Gosh, what spam is this in chat here? I don't know. It's not even in English. Ugh. If you were English spam, I might let you stay, but gonna block you. All right, you talk for a second. It's getting too stuffy in here. I'm gonna have to take off this hoodie, so I'm gonna mute.
Okay. Well, I didn't really like Nope that much. I thought it was okay. I mean, it's better than a lot of the schlock that comes out lately, but it was still not, like, even in its genre, not necessarily my pick. And I don't know, like, when it comes to like, I actually like the World's movie with Tom Cruise better, just because it's actually more it has more entertainment value. I mean, sometimes when you're doing something where you're trying to present a theme and like an argument and like show people a problem, you take a bigger risk than you do when you're just making a blockbuster popcorn film like War of the Worlds. Like, honestly, it's a bigger risk to go with the artisty thing.
Yes. Yeah. Because you never know. But I guess once you have the name too, like Jordan, people are kind of, they have expectations now that like, oh, I'm going to go see a Peele film. I also, in chat, Fresh News 247 says, so happy more women are comfortable going back to the cinema. I don't know what that means. Were women uncomfortable going to the cinema for a while?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I've never been comfortable going to the cinema.
Yeah, so like women specifically, or I'm really curious what you mean by that. Jillian says, I'm just glad there's somewhat ordinal/creative ideas and not the same recycled nonsense. Yeah, that's fair too. I thought that Nope was an interesting spin on UFOs, of it, instead of it being a spaceship that like, there's just this giant monster in the sky. So I did like the concept of the film.
The imagery at the end was sort of like serifs, like the actual
original.
Like, ideas of what angels look like. And that was, and angels are not necessarily like, if you really like look at the like angel history and shit, like some of them are really scary in what they do and how they look.
Yeah, because sometimes like if you look at them directly, you could go blind or something, or that they're because they're terrifying or hideous or something though too, or elephant head. I don't remember what all the different things, and that isn't like in the Christian one too, or in all of them, like no one becomes angels when you die, like they just exist separately though. So it was really disappointing that when you learn that, because as a kid when you see everything like, oh, you get to just become an angel and get wings and stuff, like, oh, okay, no, they're their own species. Okay, cool.
I grew up in an irreligious household, so I didn't learn about any of that crap until I was already a teenager.
I just remember like watching TV, like cartoons and stuff, whenever they like, oh, you'd fake die and then like the soul would fly up and you're playing like on a harp and you get a halo. So like that was just how I'd see it in cartoons and everything. But Fresh News,
angels equals Cthulhu.
Angels equals Cthulhu. Fresh Nope says because of COVID, no one is going to the cinema. Okay. Because you said women specific, I didn't know if there was just a gender thing going on here, but just everyone generally. The only reason I didn't go was because of places saying that they needed to wear masks. So if I had to wear a mask, I wasn't going anywhere, but I'm totally fine. And Alex has a good, I mean, among other reasons, but a big one is that there's no AC in the Phoenix one. So of course, I would not be going either.
Or they don't turn it up high enough. Like everyone's complaining about how stuffy it is in there, and it's like, well, that's just uncomfortable.
Yeah, I die. I cannot handle stuffiness. I think I told you this off air before, but there was the Music Box Theater in Chicago, and I got to see, what's it called? Don't Think Twice, with the other Key and Peele person, Keegan-Michael Key. So he started it, and Ira Glass was the producer, and he was there to talk after the film. And I thought, like, and so it was a good film, and I wanted to stay and hear him speak, but it was so stuffy. There was just no air circulating, and it was July or something, and I was dying, and I was nearly passing out, and I was just trying to stick it out to like watch him speak.
Yeah, if in the summertime, if the choice is between being inside without AC and being outside without shadows, without any kind of like overhead cover, I choose outside.
Mm-hmm.
In a heartbeat, I'm going outside.
Wow. Yeah, because at least there's air. Like,
yes, exactly. There's airflow. Like there's the auction pavilion out here in Arizona, and it's out towards like the casinos areas outside of like Phoenix metropolitan area. So, and they have concerts there, and it's outside. And I have no problem going to a concert there. Like I went and I saw, actually I saw the Doobie Brothers there, and Santana. And then I did go there once for a Heart concert, and before her was Joan Jett and the Heartbreakers, and before them was Elle King. And Elle King, she'd never been to Arizona before. And she comes on the mic and she goes, "Is it always this hot here?" And then like after she finished her set, she's got an amazing voice. After she finished her set, she goes, "Have a good night, drink water." And then she's like, she leaves. And but then a storm came in, and it was storms are usually preceded by sandstorms in the summertime.
Fun.
And
okay.
Yeah. So like that sucked. That was during the Joan Jett stuff, and she wasn't that good. And then after that, like Heart waited a really long time to come out because the sandstorm was still going on. And then the storm comes when they
play
come
the song too during it. Then
no,
okay.
when they finally come out, it starts raining. And those of us who are in the bleeders section, which doesn't have any cover, we just fucking leave. We all leave. Like we're like, all right. And it wasn't even that good. Like her voice was in Heart was kind of gone, and it was just in 2019. So I was like, this is not worth sitting around for. Elle King was worth going out there for. No one else.
Bad. But I don't do concerts. I think I've only been to a Reliant K concert that was indoors. That's like the only one that I've actually.
I think I've seen Kansas there several times.
Oh, really? Oh, nice.
Styx.
I was
Bare Naked Ladies
album this morning. I only know know and love the One Song One Week, and I know that those lyrics.
Yeah, that was their like comeback because Gordon was their breakout album. But I followed them since I was a little girl. But yeah, they are so much fun in concert. Like it's insane. Like I don't usually like live albums, but I will listen to their live albums because they're so silly. But yeah, I saw them. They were pretty awesome. But
I was listening to Ryan Long. He had what's it called? The John Stones or something. I already forget the name of his band, but he had a band beforehand, and they were kind of ska like. So that was interesting to listen to. What were you saying?
Okay, see, Jillian says that she saw Bare Naked Ladies with Hootie a few years ago, and they were a blast. Yeah, they're one of the best things to see in concert because they are so much fun. Like if you ever get a chance, they're worth it. Even I think they lost Steve Page at some point, but it's still a worthwhile band because he sang like half the songs. The other guys sang the other half. So
I'd like to go see. I'd like to go out more. Or the only place would be like Pittsburgh or something that might have them. So I should look into what concert. The ones that I was like looking into were like the pop punk ones that aren't playing anywhere near. Like the closest thing is like New York City. Like I'm not driving all the way over there. to that. But and I was worried too with Pittsburgh, even to the Improv. I didn't know what their mask situation was going to be like in the city. And when I tried calling the other day, like beforehand, no one answered. So I was just, well, and when we got there, they did have signs that said like masks optional for those who are vaccinated. But my first thought was like, oh, if you're vaccinated, you get to choose if you want to wear a mask or not. That was just, they're like, okay, you get to choose to wear it. But they actually didn't care either. Like we went in, I didn't know what they were going to say. No one meant, it was just signs on the doors, and only one employee I saw was wearing a mask. No guests were wearing any masks. No one said anything about it.
Yeah, I hate it when someone says something to me about it. But when I hate going somewhere and seeing all the employees in masks. Like, it pisses me off. Like, I'm like, you're clearly telling them to wear these. And
when everyone is,
you are.
They're choosing to.
Yeah.
To respond to chat a little bit, I saw earlier G-Man had said, "Angels only deliver divine justice. Quit being a dick, and you don't got to worry about it." That's way too difficult for me. I don't think I can do that. So sorry. I saw people were talking in chat about not wanting to go on print. I think it was El Vaquero. Yeah, didn't want to go to the movie theater to avoid giving money to people who hate me. And I know a lot of people feel that way about Hollywood films and all that too. So I get that. But then another part of me is thinking, this is an old school theater that's attached to a mall. Like, malls still exist. So here's my local area with like these kids who are employed, at least that giving money to them. And yeah, like the money is going to the films too. So it depends on the movies. But I just also, some are still really enjoyable. Again, I'm one of the few, but I loved Thor, and I'm willing to give my money to that movie.
When I went, when it was my birthday weekend, a friend was offering to take me to a dine-in theater to see Maverick, and I was all like, I like dine-in movie theaters on like theory. In theory, the concept of it. I doubt I can eat anything on the menu.
Oh yeah.
Like, I want to eat while I watch a movie. I love to eat. And I was like, I feel like I could probably get a better experience like eating and doing this at home.
Yeah.
Eating food I can eat.
Yeah, that's tough. For whatever I was talking to someone else too, that just for like religious reasons that you can only eat certain things, and that makes dining out a lot more difficult when you have food sensitivities or allergies or whatever. G-Man also says the theaters were still allowing BJ's in the back row. You just have to pull your mask back up when you're done. So that's good to know. Thank you for that information, G-Man.
Someone sent me this image. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get you to see it. Oh, yeah. Well, it's a like angry faced puppet thing, and it says, "I think I will eat food that makes my tummy hurt on purpose."
Yeah.
And I do think about that every once in a while. Like, maybe I could.
And I do that. I mean, I don't have actual allergies or sensitivities really, but there are certain things, even like you get like fruity alcoholic drinks. This is the sugar and alcohol. Like, it's going to upset my tummy, but I'm going to most likely, if I drink too many or something, then I'm going to do it anyway.
I had been getting sick from brown rice, like whole grain, non-gluten containing food was making me sick. And I'm like, I know it's not a FODMAP issue. Well, then I like researched it and everything, and I found that, you need to change your gut bacteria because of your low FODMAP diet. And I'm like, God damn it. I did start a probiotic, and I can eat rice again, and so without getting sick. And so I'm like, well, that's progress. I don't care. And a food is back on the menu, so that's great. A very limited menu.
Yeah, that's tough. I'm glad that you're able to find something there. Like, okay, like I can eat some food, some plain brown rice once again. Fresh Case also says that his wife took him to see Where the Crawdads Sing. Best sleep I've had in years. Oh, okay. At first, when I started reading it, I thought you were gonna say, when I saw Best, I thought you were gonna say that it was a good movie, which I was gonna be surprised about because it didn't seem like a movie that would interest me, but apparently I was probably right. let's see. And Jillian says about the dine-in theaters. Yeah, but they also give you drinks. That's true. I went to in Chicago. I went to one a few different times, but we don't have any nearby. Like I said, it's just the one theater. It has five different theaters, and with a tiny little arcade, and it's just at the corner of the mall. So.
Well, what drives me a little crazy about I went to the drive-in theater, the dine-in theater a couple years ago before I knew about my diet, and the tickets were like $22, and the chicken nuggets and the like chicken strips and fries were really expensive.
Oh, they're everything. So
yeah. Okay, and then in the middle of the climax is when the waiter comes to get me to give me your card and then sign this and give me a tip. And I'm like, this is the worst moment to ask me to do this, because guess what? It's the climax of this movie. I'm here. I'm like, the food is secondary. I know you're probably worried I'm gonna run out of here and not pay for my fucking food, which I wouldn't do. But still, that's pretty shitty.
No, I mean, I understand them doing it. We had to do that similarly when I served at Second City, because then people would just leave, like they would maybe be drunk or just forget or just be jerks or something. Though, so like you wanted to be able to, by the time the show ends, you wanted to be cashed out with everyone. And we would have like maybe 50 people that we were serving at a time, and or more than that. But so it's hectic when you're trying to like, and sometimes you're going in like toward the end though, but that happened to us yesterday too. It wasn't even that distracting. She just like said it there, but like I'm trying to like figure out like math in my head though, and I was missing like what was right. Like I know I'm missing a couple of these jokes here, so I'm trying to like make sure that I'm like I'm doing the tip correctly and putting in enough cash. And it was just like bothered by not at like them, but it was just like the fact that I'm distracted and I wanted to pay attention to this. And
I can't even remember what movie. Oh, I remember. It was the second it's that spy movie that
Totally Spies.
No,
it's a TV show. Spy Kids.
Something Golden Circle. Something Golden Circle.
Okay, I kind of remember.
What is the name of those people? Kingsman.
That was the yeah.
Kingsman Golden Circle. That's what it was. And it was like, do it before. Like, to me, I'm sort of like, I have no problem with you coming in during the movie theater to tell me I need to pay, okay? But do it before the climax. Like, I mean, you guys have to know when the climax is coming, right?
Right.
And there's always that part where someone's giving, like for an action film, where someone's giving a rousing speech before they go off to do it. I'm like, they're in a plane on their way there or whatever. Do it then. I have no problem with you doing it then.
Halfway through, you close out half, like when it's a movie, you just got to do, or like an hour in, this is, or before that, however long the movie is, like halfway through.
Literally, like during the it's like the fucking final fight, like of the movies, when she came in to ask me for the money, and I was like, this is the worst time. and I think that kind of jaded me on the idea of ever going to a dine-in theater ever again.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't remember being so I guess the one that I went to, they must not have done it annoyingly, because I don't remember being bothered by it. So it was mostly unmemorable. That was my
one experience with a dine-in theater.
Okay,
well, it depends on timing.
I'm so more generous than just I was a server for 3 years, so it's
I still tipped her.
Crushing. Yeah, that's what so it doesn't matter, like as annoying. I think even at work, like when I think the service was super terrible, I think the lowest I might have done has still been like 10% or something, when it was just like awful, when they're not around or whatever it is. But so generally I just, even if I could see like you're not a good server, you're hanging out and you're not doing stuff, like I'm still more because it's hard, like once you're like, I relate, or I'm either more, I can either be like more forgiving or more critical, because my experience was different because we were in a theater, and so we were having to do everything quietly in the dark. I'm crouched down carrying like 20 souvenir sized glasses on a tray, and trying not to get in the way of the show. But and then we're running around, like, you don't have time to, like, I can't chit chat tables. It's just like, even if they want to, I'm like, I have 50 other people to get to. I don't have time to talk to you. Just give me your order. And
I had a really bad experience recently at Texas Roadhouse, actually. It was one of my birthday dinners, I think, or something. No. Someone was taking me out just regularly, like a month ago. They were like, oh, you're free tonight. You're never free. Let me take you out to dinner. And I'm like, okay, cool. So we go to Texas Roadhouse. We're there for an hour, and the server speaks to us like 3 times, like, to get our orders for drinks to like one other moment, and then at the end to get the check. And I literally had to ask everyone else that passed by our table for things like rolls or, like drink refills, that kind of stuff. And then, and like, here's the thing. It was busy. It was, but I kept seeing her stop at the table across the aisle from us to chat with them constantly. And at one point I did try to get her attention, and she moved her head like she heard me and then kept walking. And I was like, you bitch, I know you heard me.
Yeah, I don't know. So that's why I get more. So sometimes I'll be forgiving. I'm like, yeah, serving sucks. And I know sometimes it could be stressful and you're busy. And other times I'm like, you have like 3 tables, and I had to do 10 times as many people as you, and I could still handle it. And we cared about sales too. So like, we were sales and server jobs. So you had to upsell, you had to do, while also not like trying to be intrusive. So then I had to go like to each table, but you'd pass by and you're just giving like a thumbs up, and people also didn't know how to like explain something. Cause like when you're doing thumbs up, or they might like agree or something, and you think, oh, they want a refill. I literally had someone hold up a beer and like point to it and nod. So I refilled her beer, and she's like, what? Like, apparently she just meant, I have this beer. It is still here. Like, this is the beer that I have, and I'm good. I don't need another one that's right here.
No, I would think that would mean a refill too. And I've never been a server. That is that's what I would say. Like, I'm like, hey, give me another one.
My boyfriend was a bartender in downtown Chicago too, so I'd be like busy there, and he's had many stories too, but one of them was like, a guy was saying something about how he like made this gesture when he looked at the bartender, and he did that, which means for most everyone that like, another round, we're doing another round.
Oh my God.
So he did it, and apparently it meant wheels up. We're ready to leave. Wheels up.
Oh my God.
So,
that's hilarious.
So I understand as patrons that the servers can be upsetting and not very good, but a lot of the customers also are retarded, and they're terrible to have to deal with when you have like dozens of them a night. And it's
like, I can see it going like either way. Like, there's bad like, because here's the thing, I will say this, like, if any demographic, 10% of them at least is going to be assholes. So like, at least 10% of servers everywhere, those people are assholes. Probably a higher percentage though of patrons that servers have to deal with are assholes. I will say that.
Yeah. Oh, see, and JB says, never say serving sucks and you're underpaid where a cook can hear you. I don't know about I mean, I'm not sure how. I think the cooks at Second City, I think they were paid okay. Servers definitely made more than bartenders though, but at least at second, just because the bartenders weren't working with the customer. A lot of times they'd be like behind the bar. There's only like 1 or 2 that would be working out in front, and then the rest of them were only going through servers. So you're only making a percentage of well, no, what the sucky thing was that the bartenders would make a certain percentage of sales that the servers would make. So if the servers weren't tipped well, they were still paying out the bartenders whatever the percentage of sales. So if everyone sucked at tipping, the server got screwed. So that was a risky thing too. But so it varied, but like most of the time they didn't make as much as servers would make, because if you got tipped well, the bartenders are only making the same percentage of the sales. But as far as the cooks go, at least I'll say that when you don't have to, like, dealing with customers is the worst thing. though. Like it was like, and I would have to put on, my voice is an octave higher. I'm being like really cheery of it for everything and all that. But I just, I by the end of it, it was not pleasing. And I gave like a 4-month notice saying that like, I gave like, here's the date. I was on my 3-year anniversary was my last day was what I told them. Cause I like the managers were cool enough, but not the greatest, but it was just kind of like, hey, just giving you this heads up, letting you know, this is my final day. But
that's funny. My worst job ever is I was a janitor. So I do literally clean up piss and shit and vomit. And in the weirdest places too. My last day on the job, I knew it was my last day on the job. I didn't just quit because this happened. Like it was literally, I had already given my notice and everything, and there was vomit in the sink of the bathroom.
Fun. All right. Well, at least they aimed well enough to, even if they make it in the toilet, so real quick, speaking of toilets, at Pittsburgh Improv, when I went to the restroom, I was like, I chose the 3rd stall out of 4 or 5. And as I was sitting down, I was wondering, why is this toilet so low to the floor? It was just ridiculously low. And I thought, why would the toilets in this restroom be this way? And when I got out, I checked to see the other ones. They weren't. They were more normal sized. It was just the one that I happened to choose was very low.
Those are usually for disabled people.
It was right in the middle, and it wasn't like a wide one or anything. It was just a regular size stall in the center, and it was just I was so confused. But
that's so funny. The thing I didn't like is that like I had to clean a couple of places that while they were open, and like they'd have like glass front doors, and not like just fully glass panels, and I would have to clean those. But people would be coming in and out of the store at the same time. And some of these assholes would literally put their hand right on the glass that I just cleaned. And I'm like, do you not see me here with the paper towels and the Windex? Like, I'm literally right here.
Hey, JB also says, having been a chef for 30 years, I can assure you that most servers are overpaid for the tips. I don't know if you're a chef, that sounds like a fancier place, but I could say that servers in Pennsylvania are paid like $2 and something before tips, and then minimum wage here is $6.725, I think. So we get paid because you're assumed to get enough tips to pay you at least minimum wage amount.
I think that's just absolute bullshit.
Chicago, I think, second city, we were paid slightly higher. I forget what we ended up at. 7 something maybe, because like minimum wage there was like $11, and we were paid like slightly above what I think the average or the regular server pay was like $5. Like they pay you way less than minimum wage is, because they assume like, and I hate the way the system works though, is that like the customers are expected to pay to make you at least reach minimum wage of it. So maybe at fancier places you might get paid hourly, that like going to be way better even before tips, but like regular restaurants and other things too, like they definitely are like, that's why like people are dependent on tips. But at the same time, you can make a ton of money serving or bartending because of the tips, but it's just like really risky either way. But so I definitely wouldn't say that like I don't think I would say most servers are overpaid before tips by any means. But okay, so I think we're done with Nope.
Yeah, I think so.
Before we
I ended the poll, and the poll, most people haven't seen Nope.
Okay, what did the poll say? I didn't.
So it said, did you like Nope? Haven't seen it? 87%. Yes, 6%. No, 6%.
You didn't even put Nope as the answer? Come on, Alex.
No, I
was right there.
I know.
All right. Well, yeah, it was a fine movie. I don't think it's worth waiting for though too, if you're like, I don't feel like going to the theater for it. But so before we get into Prey, we'll talk about that for a bit. We have some miniature discussion topics, right? You wanted to read something. Yep. I wanted to just show this clip, so I can do that first if you want, because it's.
Go ahead.
Let me see if this will let me do it. Here we go. That share tab audio. Put this on screen. So you might have seen this already. I got shared this. It's only 11 seconds.
Now our great speaker, our partner, who all of these bills we've met.
Oh, God.
So it just says that Joe Biden shakes hands with Chuck Schumer and then immediately forgets he did it and tries again. And he does look like that too. He scratches his chin and just looks like, why are you skipping me?
Yeah, Jesus. That was, that's painful.
So I don't know what he was actually thinking, but I thought that was pretty silly to watch El Presidente.
Yeah, that's bad. All right. Well, what I'm going to read you is, it's a roller coaster. Am I the asshole for bringing my 1-year-old to a distillery? From the title, what do you think?
Am I the asshole for bringing my 1-year-old to the distillery? I mean, I'm curious to see what the story is, but yes, if you're going to be asking that question, but like if you had a problem there, I don't know. Like I can see things being fine, like having a baby there, maybe have a booster seat and you're just getting dinner or something. That like I can see that not being an issue. But if you have to ask this question by posting something, then yeah, you're going to be the asshole here.
Okay, from the title, you say you're the asshole. All right, so now we're into the post. Important info. We were in the tasting room with couches / sitting areas and some tables. We were initially the only ones there. Then just as we finished, 2 other people walk in. We were sitting in one of the lounging sitting areas and little one was getting fussy in her stroller, so I took her out and she played right next to me and the stroller. The other people chose, that's in all caps, to sit at the lounging section across from us. Little one was laughing and playing quietly for the most part, but occasionally did start doing that excited yell / scream thing kids do because she was happy. It didn't happen a lot, maybe 2 or 3 times over the course of 30 minutes. She was babbling and talking a lot, but it wasn't loud at all. The 2 gentlemen were clearly not impressed, and after a bit moved to a table. Then a bit later, I heard one of them mumble something about squealing and asked a worker if they could go sit outside. We ended up leaving soon after. I have never, all caps, had this experience in a public before, and I'm wondering if, because it was a distillery, if there is some unwritten rule about not bringing kids, and maybe I'm the asshole. From that.
Okay. Well, I think I changed my mind. Because I thought it might be something worse, that like that the parent was upset by something that happened with their and having their child there, but as the by someone else being upset, I'm coming from someone who hates children and babies, and I get really annoyed by them being near, like, and I would be annoyed by them making noise, sound and stuff too. But like going out to a place that you get to like sit and eat is less terrible than like going to a theater or like whatever type of like live performance. And I'm like, never bring children to that. Like, you know that like if you're under 4 years old or something, you're going to be obnoxious. They're going to cry and you're going to need to leave, and like just don't break them. But so I think I changed my mind. I think I'm more forgiving.
All right, now edit to add. We have had a lot, it's all caps, of breweries, most with beer gardens before, and have seen families with small kids at all of them, which is why we didn't think anything of it. Edit to add 2. Family was visiting from out of town. We went on a hike in a local distillery. None of us had been to, was 15 minutes away, so we went to check it out. They do tours and self-guided tastings with 6 1/4-ounce pours. We did the tasting and were alone in the tasting room for all but the last 2 tastes on the flight. Edit 3 and 4. I'm not asking if the 2 gentlemen were assholes for being annoyed. They are allowed to be annoyed by my kid, which is why we wrapped up and left soon after they moved to a table. And for those who asked about the level of family friendliness, there was a family restroom with complimentary baby wipes and a separate diaper pail. Edit 5. It was 2:30 p.m. on a Monday afternoon, not a date night time of day or week. Edit 6. I am pregnant and was not drinking. Okay, that's a lot of edits.
Yeah.
And she's not done.
Oh boy.
Yes. The verdict. The internet has spoken. Clearly, my family ruined the sanctity of the tasting room. And in school, when my child wants to be taught about the historical, regional, and cultural significance of the 26 bourbon/whiskey distilleries in our state, I will firmly tell her, teachers, she is not to even know about the existence of alcohol before the ripe age of 21. I will never again dare to bring my child any place where child-free adults may potentially gather in the middle of the day. In return, though, I politely request all child-free people never enter zoos, aquariums, amusement parks, carnivals, and definitely not Disney World, because some places are clearly just for kids, and just because you can go without kids doesn't mean you should. And by the way, she's still not done. Another edit. Oh, for fuck's sake, to spell it out clearly, I accept that I messed up the tasting room vibe. So yeah, a tasting room is a no-go, okay? I'm an asshole for bringing them there. I don't accept that I'm a bad mom or asshole for having my kid around booze or in public. Some of y'all complained about kids in restaurants and said kids shouldn't be allowed anywhere alcohol is served. The distillery was relatively historic and regional thing, essentially a farm that serves booze. We will just stay outside the tasting room next time. What I find so funny about this is just the edits.
Yeah. I think she's someone who did not realize what the internet is. And so just surprised by the answers for it that you're asking like if you're an asshole, but like most of the internet is, so you're just gonna get answers from them. And
well, and especially for Reddit, like Reddit is a very anti-child kind of place.
Are they? I didn't really think about like how they are about children, but yeah, there have been things where I remember posting, I forget what forum it was, but I was like trying to answer something like, I don't know, like you might have, it could be a medical issue or something you could look into it, but it got like downvoted, and where I was just like, anecdotally, here's my, like I have a cousin, blah, blah, whatever it was. And I was just like, I don't understand why this was downvoted when I was like not trying to say like, hey, it could be this thing here. Like, here's a similar situation that I know of. But it was just, I don't know, like to me, it was just kind of like, oh, why are I don't know, people are just so eager to be negative about things though too. And
yeah,
I'm like, yeah, but that's the internet. So at first it's just kind of like, oh yeah, that's right, this is Reddit. Okay.
Yeah.
But it was supposed to be like a supportive page, like the thread or something too. And I thought like, oh, these people are like, everything else is about like more of a supportive concept. I'm like, but then there's just a lot more negativity and stuff in the post. I'm like, oh, all right, well.
What was funny is that after her verdict edit, where she did that snotty like response to people telling her she was the asshole, is that like, and most people were saying soft YTA. Most of them were saying that. They're like, just probably not a good idea to do this, because like even some of them were parents, honestly, saying that I would want to go there to get away from kids as a parent. So like you bringing your kid there would be counterproductive to me getting, adult time, which is always to me like a reasonable way of saying that. And it's like, yeah, sometimes you just don't want to be around kids. Like it's not a big deal. But like once she said the verdict and like was so snotty about it, so many of the new comments were like YTA for that edit. And then like so many
what does YTA mean?
You're the asshole.
You're the, okay.
And then and then so many people who had said not the asshole or no assholes here all changed
it. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. The more it went on, I'm like, okay, what you had during that time, like what you did during that, like I wouldn't really say you're an asshole, but now the more that you're talking and being obnoxious and stuff, like, yeah, you're not an asshole then, you're an asshole now. So this is the problem. And G-Man, this is what I was thinking too. He says that she was looking for affirmation, then got pissy when she found out everyone thinks she's a dick. Like, yeah, that's totally what happened, which is and I'm it's not surprising, but that's what she was looking for, because like, yeah, I would think that too. And I understand the parents saying that I'm trying to get away from children, blah, blah, blah. So I would think like, oh, it was sucky timing that like if I went there and I'm a parent and try to get away and someone else brought it, it's just kind of like, okay, like I'm not going to get like too upset over it. But I think even her wanting to like her thinking it's that big of a deal to ask Reddit about it. So she was upset enough to say something. And I also think when she mentioned, I guess people in the responses were saying that you shouldn't bring children anywhere they sell alcohol. I think that's kind of ridiculous to say, though, too, depending on where you are. Like Chicago sells alcohol everywhere. So even like family restaurants and stuff will have alcohol.
Say no place that serves alcohol. I would never say that. Like,
yeah.
A place that is focused almost entirely on alcohol, though, like it's sort of like taking your kid to a smoke shop. I like wouldn't suggest it. You know?
Yeah.
And like one of the people in the comments said, I used to work at a brewery that served people, and someone had left their child on the floor, and I was carrying a tray of drinks, and I tripped and fell, and I had to do workman's comp and have surgery, and I'm in pain all the time. So she was basically she was being extremely nice too about it too, like to this woman saying, you know, it's probably just it's a safety hazard. Don't leave your kid on the ground.
I would never put them on the ground like that.
Yeah,
stupid. But I think just having them in like a booster series. I'm trying to think. We have the distillery. Yeah, that the one that I went to recently. I'm like, well, yeah, I don't think there was food there. We went into mostly to just get food, like dinner, because there weren't other places open at the time. And we hadn't been in there yet. And I'm trying to think like, oh, if someone came in and they had their child, but they were, you know, put away somewhere that like that couldn't be tripped over, or that like even if they were crying or annoying, it's just kind of like if I'm going out to a place that serves food, I'll be more forgiving of a child being around. Like maybe a baby is sitting at the bar. Okay, no, don't like be at a table or somewhere else. And or again, like I said, like theaters or something, like when you're coming to see a performance where like the whole concept is that you should be quiet, like you're not talking, like restaurants and stuff, you're at least able to be chatting with one another.
Yeah.
But when you're going to see some sort of show where you're not supposed to be speaking, don't bring children there.
Yeah. I remember I went to a live concert in Bartlesville, Oklahoma once, and like this guy was down the row from us with his like 3-year-old girl, I want to say, and she started crying, and he immediately stood up and left the theater. Yeah. And I was like, wow, that was some great reaction time.
Yeah, because their parents who just like sit and like, shh, quiet down, and they still continue crying, and they're just like letting it sit. Like, why? Take them away from here, though. You know you're bothering everyone else with this. Just because you wanted to enjoy it, like you find a different way to like have.
I know. I mean, I know it sucks as a parent to bring a child to an event and that child doesn't enjoy it and starts screaming. Which, by the way, it's not enjoyable for the. Yeah, it's not enjoyable to the child, by the way.
Right, yeah.
Clearly they're distressed. So it's like, and I know it sucks, you paid for that, but so did everyone else in this room.
Right. You got a plan. And neither of us is parents. So
yeah, we're not.
But so as a person who has been there when there are parents and children in other places, though, like I just think you need to understand that like there are other people around. And I would say if I were a parent, I would think I will try to like, oh, you want them to socialize and stuff, like, okay, socialize them in appropriate places. They'll like take them to zoos and like places that like are that would be more fun for them, and they're able to like be more obnoxious. But like at a place that they need to sit and be quiet, though, like you're unless they're generally well behaved, and I wouldn't risk taking them to a place that you need to be quiet for 2 hours. Like that just sounds really silly to try and think that would be a good idea.
Well, I say that as someone who grew up with parents who, if I started screaming or misbehaving in public, would not let me get away with that. Either we were leaving or I was being punished. Like this was like as I got older, you know, like, and it was like, no, you know, sometimes the punishment is leaving for the kid. But then like, yeah, it's like that's the parenting I experienced, so I feel like
you learn that your behavior, like, oh, if I have this behavior here, I don't get to stay, or I don't get to experience the rest of it, though. So that just trains you to like, if I stay well behaved, I get to stay and enjoy this.
Yeah, which is what I expect from other people. Like now that I'm an adult, because that's what I grew up with.
Right.
But that's not what everyone experiences, apparently. Some people think that they want their kid to be part of every single aspect of their life, which I don't get. I know I'm not the person to ever get that. I know I will never understand it. But like, I'm like, you really want to take your kid to like a bar? Like, it's just a question for me.
Yeah, that's why I was trying to be as like understanding as I could, like depending on like, but if it's more about eating or something, that's and places around here too that some are like, oh, your restaurant and alcohol or something though, so it's just like and it's limited what's available. So most places it might be like also bars and stuff. So it's just kind of like, okay. Yeah, I don't know. So, but it just at the end of the day, when she was just continuing on, like, all right, you're getting pissy. Like, no one's gonna like you anymore. Like Jillian says to you. Oh, go ahead. What were you saying?
I was just saying she was there for validation.
Yeah, exactly. Jillian says, hell yeah, we never got to go out as a family because we always acted a fool. And I didn't read it out loud earlier, but I put it on screen. But it was Alva Cara says, I freely admit to being an asshole. No need for me to ask Reddit. Yeah. Yeah, I think generally when you think you need to ask the question, then you probably are, but not always the
actually
case, but
like I read a lot of Am I the Asshole because I really like
some people
stories.
some people
like,
maybe I'm wrong with that because like some people will say something that like other people reacted poorly and you weren't.
Sometimes on Am I the Asshole, the person being asked is being abused, like legitimately being treated like shit, and they're like fine, and people are like, dude, you like everyone in the subreddit is like, fucking get out of this situation, you need to leave. Right. And it's like, I mean, so it's like it runs the gamut. There's the people who are looking for validation who are the asshole, and then there's sometimes whereas there's no assholes here. And then there's the people who clearly are not the asshole, but have been so mind fucked they have no idea that they are not. They're the fake ones.
Like relationship threads and stuff too.
Oh yeah,
it's just because then they're always like, "Oh, what did I do?" Like, no, like you're not in the wrong here.
Yeah, but like some of them are fake. Like they feel like clearly fake. So sometimes if I do comment, I'll comment on the fake ones, and I give them a rating of FAF. And like people are like, what does that mean? And like people guess at it because I don't tell them. And like some people get it right. They're like fake as fuck. And I'm like, yep, that's what it means.
All right. Well,
maybe we should talk about Prey.
Yeah, we should. Oh yeah, and I was gonna. All right, so what was the not okay thing? Did you have that before we get the?
Oh, I just put it in the Discord. So yeah, that's right.
I don't have Discord up. What did it was something about? I don't have it up on my computer. But it said it had a trigger warning of it having an unlikable female lead character or something, right?
Yeah, female protagonist, I think is what it said.
That's right, unlikable female protagonist. So Hulu had the trigger warning. So we just wanted to mention that. And then I decided to actually go through and watch the film today. And man, I mean, that disclaimer was correct. She certainly was unlikable, but I don't know. The whole film is pretty cringy. Because they were kind of like, oh, you're just like you are. They're making you the annoying white woman who's straight, but trying to like say like, oh, maybe I'm bi, like to like hurt the lesbian and gay co-workers. And then and she had there were like a couple lines that were like legitimately funny though. But they had like an anti-gun high school girl, like anti-gun activist, who was supposed to be like the David Hogg character, I guess. And so she had so the plot is the main girl. Pretends to go to Paris to like impress a coworker and say that she's I'm on a writer's retreat in Paris, and she like fakes because she's a Photoshop editor and photo editor, and she fakes photos there, but Paris happens to get bombed right where she was like posting her pictures. So then everyone thinks you were here during a terrorist attack, and so she gets super famous because of that, and she like goes along and she wants the stardom. So it wasn't even just like having to like, oh, I have to follow along with this lie. It was that you are a terrible person who wants the attention. So, because I was like, this is almost a Disney movie where you're like, oh, like that, like, hey, I got caught in a lie and now I'm having to like continue on with it. And then at the end, I get caught and then I learn my lesson and blah, blah, blah. But this was just kind of like slightly older and with a worse, like, or more like annoying lead character written by woke people to try and make a point, and like, and you don't really get that the same happy Disney Disney ending.
So God, yeah, I remember like a lot of people were all like, is the trigger warning satiristic? Like, is it a joke?
That's what I thought at first, that it was meta, because it was like, oh, the character, they talk about how unlikable the main character is in the movie. So I thought maybe that was intentional in the trigger warning.
But like, the director has said, yeah, I know. Right? That made
what
me
did
laugh.
she do? Take her kid to the distillery? Yeah.
That like it was serious after doing test audiences and people coming out saying she's so unlikable. Like they had to be. So it was about prepping the audience for the idea that they were not gonna like.
But that was the point of the film, is that she is unlikable, and then she did kind of grow, like, and she was kind of confused at the end. She's like, she even says like, I don't know if I learned anything, like, did I learn, like, and she was like trying to grow as a person, and then at the very end she was kind of like making a choice that was a little bit more selfless, like instead of her getting like her validation of trying to apologize to the activist girl that she hurt when they found out, like, at the end it's just like, everyone finds out that you lied and now like your whole life is ruined and social media sucks and stuff. So she was like trying to make amends, but then she realized like, oh, making amends here is just more to help me feel better. So she decided not to, because it was going to hurt the other girl more. So it was kind of like, you did kind of learn a lesson, and your life still sucks though, because you were like trying to take responsibility for this. So it was kind of like, but it was cringy. It was hard to watch, but it was also kind of like, and it was intentional, that yeah, she's supposed to be terrible. Like I did like at one line, she had a coworker, he was like talking to her at the computer and she's like, thanks, Kevin. And he said, oh, it's Kelvin, actually, it's Kelvin. And she said, no, I don't think so. She just like, goes back to work, and he like rolls away in his chair and then like comes back, but she just like turns and like smiles at him and then goes back to work. And he's what? So that was funny. And I'll say the best character was Dylan O'Brien. So he usually plays like kind of awkward, nerdy guys in different like TV shows and movies. Like he's in Teen Wolf TV series, and he's just done like other stuff too, Maze Runner and things. And I've always liked him. And I actually watched him not too long ago in a thing called The First Time. So it was like, he was a high schooler who met a girl and they had sex for the first time. And so it was just like this whole like very kind of like plotless about just like high school teens not doing anything. But so it's just like, oh, here's this like awkward nerd. And this character, though, he had his bleach blonde hair, scruffy beard. He's high all the time. He's like a social media influencer, and he kind of talks. He's just like, oh yeah, what up, man? Like, oh, it's so cool and weird. So he had that attitude, and it was such a contrast to what I've seen him be in everything else. Like he's just this like cool, laid back, douchey guy. And he was just high all the time, and like he wears like baggy clothes, and like one pant leg is rolled up more, and like colorful socks and stuff too. So he's just and it was like, he did it really well. Like I thought his performance was really great as this character that I've never seen him in before. So I thought he was great. And then what was great about it too is at one point he was like talking about the main girl, and she was just like like oh, watching her walk away, like, oh, like she got that thicky, like, like that fat ass, and like, so she's just kind of like commenting on it. And then the lesbian girl and there says was like watching him as he's like kind of like talking to her from like down the hall, and like and she says, Colin, you're from Maine. And then he drops the character and he's like, cool, Harper, we all know information about each other. It was just like, he said the character was putting on this persona, and he just drops it, like he clearly is not this guy. And I just thought that was really funny, like really well done part there. So he was the best part of the film.
That's funny.
It was also terrible. And they also played an Avril Lavigne song. So, but they called her like because the one girl, the activist, was like a high schooler. So she had this whole like, oh, sometimes they play oldies music. And so she mentioned Avril Lavigne, and then the main character's like, you call that oldies? Like Avril Lavigne's oldies? So just, hard for me to hear too. She's still going. She just had new album.
Someone said this, JB said, just found out yesterday the Declaration of Independence has a trigger warning on it now, which oddly triggered me. Now, here's the thing, is that, like, I'm friends with Holly Math Nerd. You know, a lot of people knew her from Twitter. She got off Twitter. She has her Substack now. But I'm still friends with her. We still communicate. And, like, she has this great thing where she talks about trigger warnings and how they are just triggering. That, like, it doesn't, like, at that point, like, they're like, this trigger warning, you know, it's like assault, violence, swear, like, whatever you want to say, like, and like, they're triggering. Like, it's already like, so they're pointless. She says they're absolutely pointless.
But it's hard to see, like, yeah.
Yeah, so because she's all like, you're already triggered by that point. Like, when you see the trigger warning, you're like, oh no!
I'm not prepared. I need to
so it's like
trigger in for the trigger warning.
And I agree. I don't have, like, I have anxiety triggers. I don't have like trauma triggers at all. So, and I think this whole unlikable female protagonist trigger warning is just fucking too far. Like, I do have anxiety triggers. Like, someone was making a noise in my home and I could hear it and I was like, what the fuck is that? What is that? And it was like, my anxiety was like going up and going up. And then, like, I opened the door and I realized it's someone popping
the little bubble. Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, that's all that was. And the sound was like grating on my anxiety. But like, no one has to give me a trigger warning for anxious things. Like,
yeah, you just kind of have to
deal
with it. Yeah. And then you figure, especially because a lot of times it's kind of like the not knowing part, and so once you like figure out, like, oh, okay, now I can like relax. And everyone has different anxieties for things, and especially when it's just like, I'm very easily bothered by like certain sounds and stuff too, and then the more things that happen, they're like, so then you're just like, oh, I can feel myself like getting more and more annoyed, so I have to like finish what I'm doing and like either stop or. Yeah, so sometimes it's just kind of like, well, you know, that's life, but I'm not gonna like, my cat needs to give me a trigger warning before it's gonna be doing something like snoring. I think my one cat Elsie earlier, I think she was snoring because she snores so much when she sleeps. So I was like, what is that sound? Was, oh, it's coming from over there. Like, okay, but it was like bothersome at first.
Well, the thing is about trigger warnings, the first trigger warnings that people really were that were put in like Hollywood shit were for epileptic seizures. And it's like, that's something
like
I can understand putting a trigger warning for, because it's like, you're not putting out the stimulus that is actually going to give them a seizure by saying, trigger warning, this content has a lot of flashing lights.
Right.
What you're saying is, if you have epileptic seizures based on flashing lights, please don't watch this.
Right. And it's more so about, I don't know, this physiological response that like, you know, could maybe actually like kill you or something though too, depending on what happens. But
grand mal seizures, or tonic-clonics as they're also called, are fucking horrifying.
Yeah,
I had one.
Oh, really?
They're so horrifying.
So,
especially if you've never had one before. It's fucking terrifying.
Yeah. So compared to just like, I'm stressed out now, like no matter, and I get that like for people with actual PTSD or something, though, like that can be horrific as well in a different sense. But at least I'll say at least that isn't going to necessarily kill you. Or like put you in a coma or whatever that might happen though. So but most of it too, I think, is just, you know, as a culture, as a society, we're just much weaker. And that so when you need to have the warning about all these things, like, oh, you might get sad, you might be upset by this thing that you watch. And my thing too with like comedy, like where they had to do like trigger warnings or something in like sketch shows or mention whatever, I'm like, or if people just talk about potentially being uncomfortable with certain scenes, like, don't do comedy if you are easily upset by things though. And that's why it became less fun to do improv and sketch, because it was just, people were going to be activists about whatever, and it was going to be politically annoying, and you couldn't say certain things because people were going to be offended by stuff. And it's just, that's not what comedy is supposed to be.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, because I've had three major seizures in the past, I like, my tolerance for my anxiety is probably a lot higher than other people generalized anxiety disorder. If I have a panic attack, I'm like, oh, that's bad, but it's not as bad as the seizures I used to have. They're not as horrifying as that. If I can live through those, I certainly can live through my brain having a little bit of a, like, oh no, kind of moment. Like, it's like not very comparable to me.
This isn't the same thing, but it just kind of reminds me how I would do, because I get like really nervous and stuff before performances, no matter what. Like, I don't know why. I just kind of, like especially right beforehand. Sometimes like the worst part would be like right before the curtain opens. But even before that, it's the anxiety of just like it leading up to it too. So I just kind of like, I have the dread. And even though like once the curtain opens, like I'm having fun, like it's a great time, but just beforehand, I'm in my head and all those terrible things. But what helped me is that I would be thinking in 2 hours, this is going to be over with. And I'm going to be, it's done. We're going to be hanging out and chilling and whatever though. So it's just kind of like thinking like just making it through like 2 hours isn't that much time and everything's, and that actually would help me.
Yeah. Better than imagining your audience naked.
Oh my gosh. I think I would rarely want to see that with all the audience members around. Yeah. Especially around here. Most of them are old people, so it's just not going to be interesting unless you want the GILF or the G-GILF. We didn't have those around. I don't think there are any of those around here.
Oh God.
Okay, well, so the other official topic was Prey, and I don't think I need to have a ton to say about it, but I'll say too, I've never watched any of the Predator films beforehand. I didn't realize initially when I saw Prey that it was a sequel to the Predator films. So before I watched it, I watched the first 2 Predator movies, and I had no idea that it had Arnold Schwarzenegger in the first one, and the second one had Danny Glover and Gary Busey. Yeah, those 2. Yeah, so it was just kind of like, oh, okay. And also, I expected it to be, I thought it was more horror film, but they ended up being more action. So just I'm already kind of biased against stuff about like older movies because like in the 80s everything kind of just had like a flat lighting filming done too. So I kept wondering, like, is this going to be a comedy? Because this is filmed like a lot of other 80s like comedies. Run, get to the chopper. So it was kind of hard for me to appreciate as much because I was expecting more horror and it was more action based, it seemed. Also, I forget why I think it was, I was wondering if Stranger Things was kind of relating to or referencing it at all, because one character's name in it was Jim Hopper, and then another character's name was Hawkins. So it was just like, seems very coincidental. It was in the first Predator film.
A lot of Stranger Things, especially season 1, is a bunch of 80s
stuff. So that's why I thought, like, were the names themselves based off of 80s films too? So
yeah,
I don't know. But so that was I had the first 2 films and I watched those and got those out of the way.
Those are the only 2 ones worth watching.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Don't watch any of the other ones. I'm serious. Like any of the Aliens versus Predators, the Predator, which sadly was written by Shane Black, but I hear the studio like fucked with it like quite a bit. And I like Shane Black. He's a very good writer, and he's in the first Predator movie. What?
What else has he done?
He did Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Okay. Okay.
It's a very fun movie. One of Val Kilmer's like last big movies before he got sick. And it's Robert Downey Jr. It's a really funny movie. It's like a noir comedy. It's really good. But yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of Predator as a series, honestly, like as a franchise, like even the first one and the second one, I was not really like a fan. Like that was not me. I only watched Predator within the last few years, I want to say. And then Predator 2, I watched that a lot when I was
really?
Yeah, a lot.
I Oh, the other thing too, I didn't recognize him at first, and then I think my boyfriend mentioned it. He was because we both like noticed, is that Adam Baldwin? He was just so young in it.
Oh yeah.
So it was just kind of weird to see him. Like this is before I forget what year, but like like more than a decade before Firefly. So there's just like even like he just had such a baby face in there. So with Prey, so I watched Prey after those two films, and again with the biasness of like, hey, this is a modern style film, so that it seemed like it was more horror, like the way that the lighting and stuff was done. So I appreciated it more because it kind of had more suspense and horror than the first two did. So I enjoyed it for that. The CG was terrible. For all of the animals they had looked so fake. They were very bad.
I made a joke because I usually write notes while I watch movies for the first time, and one of my joke, and you can see my jokes on Twitter because that's where I post them. My notes are all on Twitter when I watch a movie, where she's tracking and she has the dog with her, and the dog is constantly barking, and I was like, when you're tracking something, be sure to bring a dog with you that barks at absolutely everything.
Yeah. And that's loud. So either like if you're trying to find something, they don't want to spook it, or like you want to bark when you're actually like on the trail. So it just, it seemed pretty bad. There were multiple things too, like even the mountain lion that attacked. I was just, they were up in the tree, and the mountain lion was like really aggressively trying to chase after like and getting up to him. And I wondered, is this normal behavior for a mountain lion / cougar, for a cougar? Just because it seemed like I don't know. So a lot of the animal behaviors in the film made it seem like they were, I don't know, more intelligent to like actively even. All right. Also, and I guess the main thing too, what I have a problem with the Predator films, I don't super understand the motivation of the Predator, because it's like that if it is just a basic, I'm here to kill everything, like to just like prey on everything. I was just struggling with understanding whether it was just like, oh, like, yeah, like this is just for sport, or that I'm intelligent enough to understand that I'm doing this for sport, or it's just like an instinctual thing that I have to do. But I don't know, like, so throughout it all, I didn't super understand, but then they seemed intelligent at the end of Predator 2.
They are intelligent. Yeah, they are intelligent, and this is it seems like a ritual that every Predator has to go through to like level up, essentially. Like you go hunt something that is dangerous that could possibly hunt you back and kill you, which is kind of what Prey was saying too. Like the Native Americans had that same rule, like, oh, to level up in your society, you have to hunt something that is capable of killing you, like a bear or a cougar, or whatever. So like I think that's the idea, is that it's the same thing, like, which is why maybe they decided finally to do Native Americans. But like one part that kind of bothered me, because this is something from a Predator like franchise standpoint, is that the Predator at one point takes off the thing on his arm.
Oh yeah.
That can turn into a bomb, and like to kill all the French trappers. And I was like, isn't that bomb, like, according to every Predator thing I've ever seen, that bomb is there so that in case he's dying, he takes out any sign of him being there. And so I was like, what the fuck? I know Predator well enough for that. So I was like, I was actually angry, like, why did that happen? Which maybe makes me more of a fan than I thought I was, because it was so out of the norm for what Predator does. And some of the sequences were pretty predictable, like how she beats the Predator, which, by the way, I don't think that's a spoiler. The idea of a Predator movie is that the protagonist beats the Predator. Like, if that's not what happens in the end, then you've screwed up the Predator film.
That if she didn't beat?
if your protagonist doesn't beat the predator by the end of the film, well, you fucked up the predator film.
Right. So what I did like that we were expecting was that since this was taking place 300 years ago, like by watching the second movie, I understood the reference of like, hey, he beat the one predator and the other predators all came out and they're like, hey, take this gun, and it said 17, or what was it? I forget what it was.
Cutting out.
Uh-oh. Am I back?
You're back.
Okay. But it had it 300 years beforehand, 1725 or whatever, and they, or 1715, and so I'm like, okay, when this film takes place 300 years ago, so we're like, that flintlock has to be in this movie at some point, and it was. So they had that one French guy give her the flintlock to shoot, and like, okay, like if you didn't have that in here, even though you had it in the second movie, like that writing, like you had to relate that, or else the writing would have been terrible. But what didn't make sense was, how did the predators end up getting the flintlock later to give to Danny Glover? Because at the end of Prey, she gives it to her tribal chief or whatever. So I'm wondering how the predators get it again later. So it's like, it exists, but like, why shouldn't have been someone else? Another predator comes in and takes it and goes away,
kills her. My thought is that flintlock meant that predator was successful in hunting humans. So to me, like from that, this is not that story, and that was a bad reference. And then there's a couple of parts that kind of just piss me off. There's a part where the three guys find her and they're going to take her back and they fight her and everything. And then of course Predator shows up and kills them all. And it's for her. And I was all like, why does Hollywood have to do this thing now where they make you hate a character so much and then immediately kill that character in these kind of movies? Because it's like, I am sick of this trope. You literally are making it hateable characters so that I cheer or clap when they die. And here's the thing. I don't, like, it's over the top for him to like punch her in the face. And that's literally what he did. And so I'm like annoyed by this trope that, oh, they're assholes. And they somehow still found a way to make this story about almost all Native Americans about intersectionality, because it's all about women succeeding, which I'm not saying that a Plains woman couldn't possibly be awesome. That's not my point. My point is that there's that moment at the end of the movie, spoilers, where she comes home with her kill and she tells them, oh, we're in danger, we have to move. And there's these sequences of shots of the women all like, and the female children all being like inspired and proud of her. And I'm like, you went a little over the top here with this message.
Yeah, it's okay with like one person, like, hey, she feels the need to like that makes sense, that sometimes that they want to break out of whatever social norms that like are going on in your culture. But like to have everyone like, all right, now's the time. Yeah. I get that. Also, so the thing about like just feeling bad for characters, just to go back to Nope real quick. Again, I feel bad for Steven Yeun's character though too, because like he had his whole trauma with the chimpanzee, so you go through all that, and that how he's like kind of processing and working through it, only to get eaten by this giant alien monster thing. So there was just like no like positive payoff for him. So I just wanted to reiterate that like I did feel bad for him. And then like even his co-star, like at the end too, he's like, hey, here's my old co-star who my first crush. And so she had her veil on with like you could see that her face when the wind blew it, she was all disfigured because of the chimpanzee, because of Gordy, only to get eaten that day by something like, haven't you been through enough? Like, so sad. But anyway,
I always feel like Jordan Peele's punishing children for being involved in a TV show about a chimpanzee. Like it's like a little far.
It's like it wasn't their fault. That they a lot of child actors, they go through a lot. Like most of them have some sort of problems by the time they're adults, and so it's just kind of it's sad for them. But for Prey, another thing too with the French guys, when they found out like, oh, when all those bison, they are buffalo, like technically I think they're bison because buffalo are like African and Asian, but so all the bison, like they were skinned, so like all their skin was gone, and so it's like, oh, it was the predator. But later on, the girl's like, what was her name, Naru, like she says that, oh, you guys did it, and it took me a while, like I didn't understand like why would they do that, but I guess like, oh, you want the fur, I guess, the pelts, so they're doing it for that. But it seemed like this was a lot, like they really went through and did all of these animals just for the pelts and nothing with the meat. That seemed like it was, I don't know if that was a thing that they did. I just would imagine that like if you're going to kill the animal, that you would try and take some of the meat. That's why like it made it look like the predator might have done because like the
predator does that, yeah.
But so it was trying to make it like, oh, but then you can't like, oh, these white people, white European people are the bad guys. But I didn't know, like, I know that bison were nearly extinct or something. They're super endangered because like they did kill a bunch of them back then. But I thought that they like used other parts of the animal too, but I don't know. It just seemed like
some poachers don't care even now.
Yeah, that's true. It was just
some poachers don't give a shit.
Dead animals that like you took all that. It would be a lot of work to kill all of those bison only for the pelts. Like it just seems like if you're in it for the money.
I mean, I could see, and it's terrible, that guys who just went for killing them and taking their meat, that's a lot of stuff to lug around, all that meat to sell it.
Even the pelts too, though. So
I mean, the pelts are a lot lighter than all that meat. That's like thousands of pounds. That's true, of meat.
But it was still just a lot of. I mean, because at least when the panned around, like it was just a bunch of them. So I thought like maybe not all of the meat, but just some. And
then also, I hate to say it, but during that time period, this is historically accurate. A lot of the hunters that came in that were like mercenary like hunters, were like, this is how they made their money. They didn't give a shit.
They nearly were extinct.
The North America was so plentiful with all this animal life. They thought, well, we're never going to hit the bottom of this barrel. And so they didn't care. Like the Passover pigeon would fly, they'd fly over in their flocks of millions and they'd blot out the sun, and people would think, well, if we could just shoot up into the sky and get, mostly with a rifle, and get dinner for tonight. And they kept doing it and they kept doing it and they kept doing it. And does that happen anymore here? No, of course not, because they did literally drive them to extinction. So, right. I mean, it's like they did do this. I'm not going to say that I appreciate being shown it necessarily in a movie and it be a Predator movie, like, and then make it a point of it or anything. Like, I'm not arguing it's not historically inaccurate,
but it seemed kind of unnecessary in this film. Yeah, that
exactly.
That you were just kind of preachy because it didn't seem fitting for it. And people in chat too. So El Vaquero says, skinning a bison on the ground has to be a real bitch. And 300 years ago, they probably would have made pemmican or something. So yeah, they even just skinning would have taken a lot. I'm just saying, if I went through all that work, I would have at least wanted to take, at least for myself too, like, hey, let's get some meat out of the work that we're doing.
And I'm going to say this because chat's saying it too, but the Native Americans were not completely bloodless in the...
Yeah, it was this one. Native American tribes drove bison to near extinction by driving whole herds off cliffs because they were so in tune with nature. And the Europeans had little to do with bison population declining. But Johnny by Quickdraw also says, which is something I read too, and I don't know, because history has different things, but he also says, I believe there was a concerted effort by the U.S. government to kill off the bison because it was a primary food source of the natives. So I have also read that, and it's hard for me to say because it's like I don't remember the sources, and sometimes it's just kind of like, is that true or is that something that like people are saying to be against, like to be pro-native,
right? That the post-colonial and bullshit that people like to say. Yeah, I know.
And maybe that is true. Maybe not. I just don't know for sure because I don't. Even with the natives.
But I'm not going to say that the natives didn't have a hand in driving some animals to extinction. They definitely did. Because they thought the same thing, that the barrel, we're never going to reach the bottom of this barrel. Like, like honestly, back then it was incredibly plentiful. Food was everywhere. I mean, there were herds of bison everywhere. It did not seem possible to people like that. But like that, I mean, in that time period, to think that far into the future that you could just those people by those I mean 18th century idiots to drive all these animals to extinction. You just didn't think it was possible.
Oh, and El Vaquero says pemmican is the ultimate survival food. You ultra dry the meat, grind it up, and mix it with rendered fat. You can mix dried berries and stuff with it. It'll keep at room temp for years if made right. Ooh, okay. Wow. Yeah, my dad recently, how did he make it? He made some jerky, and I think it by not cooking, I think he just like did vinegar or something, whatever. I forget what it was though too. Like, so it wasn't salt, but it was something else that like, but it tasted delicious. So it was like fresher because he was copying some other bag of food that he got that was like, here's meat that's like better for you, like healthier and fresher. So I don't remember how I did it. G-Man, thank you for the super chat, G-Man. Could you imagine how bad climate change would be today if colonizers hadn't taken out those farting bison? You're welcome. That's true.
Yeah, God, I kind of agree with you on this, GB. Fun fact, there is no good or bad sides in history, only bad and worse. Winner writes the books.
Yep. Yeah. Waking up on the wrong side of history.
Yeah, there's so many like things going on that I'm sort of like, when I read history, like I read a lot of history, and I'm like my big thing is Tudor history though. But I'm like, there's no one here that does something good, like, you know, like really good all the time. There's no such thing. And it kind of sucks. Like maybe an individual can be good, but when you're talking about like large groups of people, like, oh my God, they get bad real fucking fast.
Yeah. Like, I mean, that's we know that by just government stuff too, though. Like, exactly. Or like the more that we're trying to like, hey, federally, we're gonna have all 50 states try to agree on stuff too. Like, you've got 350, like, or 325 million people. They're not all going to agree. And then you're the average intelligence. So then you're going to have a lot of dumb people with says and things that are going to affect the more intelligent people. So it's just, I'd rather just be at a local level and be able to have more say.
Well, because like one of the problems is that like with this movie is that they do show that the way that they show the native tribe, the Comanches, are bad is by saying that they're sexist. And I'm like, I don't know that that's necessarily the best tack to take in saying that they're human beings. Like, just have them be regular, flawed people, for fuck's sake. Not like, don't come at me with a message over this. I don't want to hear a message. I want to hear a story.
Yeah. And you're also bringing in a modern day concept of like, you know, equal rights between males and females with a you know, a community of people that like they had a set way back. This is 300 years ago. So of like the expectations were different for like all cultures back then too. And I'm not against the idea of, especially like the break, like I was also comparing it to Brave with Merida, like the Pixar movie. So it's just kind of like, like I'm fine with having like here's the lead female in a society where like you're not like, I'm okay with that concept, but I don't know. I guess it's just different now, and it's just kind of like, you know, it's like an anti-man thing and women, blah, blah, blah. And there's a difference between just kind of like, oh, hey, you're a Disney princess and we just kind of want to empower girls to do what you can, versus like all men are evil and this is the point that we're trying to make. So I guess there's just like the intention is different with
that's
these
true.
Stories now.
Wait, those guys came off as like real dickbags, and at the end when it was all like triumphant and everything, I'm like, 4 of your young men died. This is not a triumph. This is a disaster.
You've lost a lot. And with that mountain lion, why was it the best time to hunt it at night? It seems like it was going to be better at hunting than you would be as a human who doesn't have dark vision like in D&D. And just like wait till morning to try and go find it. Like maybe it's going to be out more at night.
Oh no, wait, actually I undercounted 5 of their young men.
Yeah, so because it was harder
because I forgot about that guy in the tree.
Torches. Yeah.
And he also was a dick. He was literally having dick asshole things come out of his mouth when the mountain lion grabbed him.
Your brother and I are gonna be the ones to get this because you're a girl and you're not gonna
yeah, immediately.
Like, yeah, okay, so we have to really hate you. And I don't know, like maybe also you're a young man. Yeah, like a lot of times you're going to be like a rambunctious testosterone filled guy. So like I guess it's not out of the realm to be that way necessarily. However, he was old enough to also kind of be like, I'm going to be into women and maybe I'm, you know, like not going to be a dick to girls because like I'm going to want to marry one or something though.
Well, to me, the weird part was they were all being a dickbag to the war chief's sister. Yeah. And it's like, oh, in the hierarchy of our tribe, he's top dog. I'm gonna be an asshole to the woman he cares the most about.
Yeah.
That seems like a really bad decision.
No problem.
If she tells him, you might get, you know, in a fight. Like, this is not a good idea. And like, maybe it would be smarter to support her because then you could marry her and that would be good for you for the hierarchy. Like, come on. That was so dumb.
G-Man says the men didn't live long enough to see her prove them wrong. Yeah. She doesn't even get to show her point that to the guys that were the worst because they're all dead.
Yeah.
Sucks for her.
When the brother like has his moment of reconciliation with her, which by the way, he wasn't that big of a dick.
No,
but
yeah, I thought he was fine most of the time. He was pretty supportive.
Yeah, he was. He said as soon as he has his moment of reconciliation, I was like, oh, he's gonna die.
Yeah. Oh, in the beginning, I was like, because there's a thing too where it's just like you're not a big enough dick. Like you guys you have a pretty solid sibling relationship here, so you're not going to survive either. That like I guess like either way, it's just like you're not gonna make it. Like you're just this character, like you can't make it.
You know what? If like one other girl like was running around trying to do stuff and she died, I would not have as many complaints about this movie's gender ideology bullshit. Like because then I would be like, oh yeah, see, sometimes the chick dies, because that's the thing in horror movies, which this one is kind of a horror action film, is that like the girl survives at the end. That's the trope. So we could see her as a protagonist in this fight. Like even Sarah Connor survives in the end. Okay, it's not new. But the problem is
final girls.
Yeah, the problem is that like other women die in other movies. No other women. It was all men.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll say that like maybe I'm okay with it just because they weren't out. Like the predator didn't go to the village; it was only out and about though. So like because no other women.
That's why I said if there was another girl running around, like
that
with
she
her,
would have
maybe.
died.
Yeah,
or that
and if she had died.
Do you think that there should have been though, just to show that?
I do think there should have been to be more balanced. And also would have added some more dynamic to it. And maybe then they could be a dick to her, and that would make more sense to me.
Or even like one who didn't really want to be out there, but like the main girl's like, no, like we need to do this. We need to prove a point. And she doesn't really want to, and she ends up dying anyway. And so the main girl's like, oh, well, I feel bad now, and I need to make it up. Like maybe have that kind of thing.
Like anything besides just have her be the lone woman. Like
okay.
And the lone survivor. That is like really like if another dude had survived, I would have been okay too. Like
again, it could have been a sibling thing where they like if he were more of a dick at the beginning and then he grows to like support her and stuff too, and they kind of come together, would have been okay with him surviving. But that's why he was just like nice enough from the whole time, like you're gonna die. And then it's if you're a dick the entire time, then you're also gonna die. The only way would be from dick to being supportive, and that's the only way that you could potentially survive. But there's also a good chance you're still going to die because you just get the redemption and then you die. So it was not
the redemption and then you die is my most annoying trope right now. Stop it, please.
Well, it's just not fulfilling. I'm not satisfied though. Like, what was the point of it all when you just die anyway? Yeah.
Well, JP, like, I'm not talking about from the perspective of reality and what happens in actual war. I'm talking about from the perspective of storycraft.
Yeah, and I think of as a viewer or something too. It's just like if I'm going to sit through watching or reading something, though, I'm just like, well, it's a waste of time if I had to go through this person, like learning something only to die anyway. I'm like, well, why did I bother with that?
Well, that's why I like Stranger Than Fiction so much.
Oh, yeah. That's tough. El Vaquero had said earlier too, sometimes the best way to deal with an asshole is to send in your own asshole. Asshole fighting asshole with asshole.
Yeah.
Let me see other chats. So anything else that you have as far as the predator films go?
One thing I did like about it is that a lot of the fight scenes were long shots. They didn't cut it up.
Oh.
So that made it much more enjoyable to watch the action.
Okay, because you got to see like a full
what was going on. It was a bit of a shaky cam thing, which I don't like. If it had been a stable camera, it would have been even better. But at least it didn't cut. Because I get bored. My eyes literally glaze over when they cut.
Yeah, and you don't get to see the full thing. Also, Demon Slayer says women have never won a war in the history of the planet. So there's that. Is it also true to say women have never started a war?
I don't know about that one.
I'm legitimately asking. I don't know if there are leaders or other ones who have. So not trying to be like in a feminist way. I'm just wondering like to what extent women have been in war, like how much they've been a part of to win or to start or to finish wars.
Well, here's the thing, JB, about the idea about what you're bringing up. He says bottom line for a movie or book isn't if it's written well or has good characters or good effects. The bottom line is was it fun for you? The other stuff just helps it be fun. Here's my thought on that. I am a writer. I write actual narrative. There is a difference between something that is well written and something that you enjoy. They can be the one and the same, or they can be always. But they don't have to be. Something can be well written and you not like it. Something can be badly written and you enjoy the fuck out of it. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with it. There are some bad movies that I love. Like, I know they're bad. They're badly written and I love them. I don't care that they're badly written. I will admit, though, that they have flaws. But there are things that I know that are very well written that I just don't want to watch again.
But I'll say that, it really depends on the person and the story though too, because it would be like, if I'm expecting like this needs to be well written for me to enjoy, or it can be like this because I've said it multiple times before too, like, I'm easily entertained. Like if it was funny, I'm gonna enjoy it. Like so if a lot of times, like if it's fun, I can be forgiving to like poorly written stuff, and I don't think Thor was poorly written. I think there were like different issues, but like overall, it was just a really fun movie for me. So that's why I'm like, I loved it. But yeah, I do agree that like there are things that like if it's that sometimes it could be fun, but like I could be disappointed. Like the writing wasn't good, but like I could still enjoy it because it was fun. But if I have certain expectations, though, I might not think something is fun because it wasn't well written. So it really just depends on the context. Hillary started a war in Libya, says Alvacare. Okay,
that's true. She did.
Is she a woman though? Are we
what is a woman?
What is a woman?
We have to ask Matt Walsh. He can tell us. But wait, JB says, enjoy Star Trek Discovery. Just don't tell me it's good Star Trek or good or Star Trek. 100% agree. Yeah. It's new Trek. It's not good. And it's certainly not good Star Trek.
Fair point, JB. All right, let's see. Anything else in here? I think I'm out of opinions on Prey. I'm trying to let me look at my notes. Yeah, it's hard. I thought I had written well, it's hard to write notes when they're in the theater too, but like at home when I'm trying to watch something, I'm like, okay, let me type down everything that but then I also write notes really poorly. So I'm like, what was I talking about here? Why did I just write like 2-3 letters? Like, what does this even mean? Um Yeah, I think I'm good. As far as like next week goes, I have no idea. I don't know what TV series like I'm done with Scream Queen, so I don't know how far along you
I'm
are or
still in
can
season
get.
1.
So yeah, I think it's kind of so it's up in the air of when because right now I'm just kind of like, oh, I'm watching. Oh,
Oh,
I guess I can say if you went to like somewhere and down the line soon, what we do in the shadows and only murders in the building. I'd like to discuss because they both have new seasons out, and so I'd like to do those.
yeah.
And Scream Queens because No Town said to.
Yeah, I'm still in the middle of season 1. I'm close to the end though. I think I only have 2 episodes left for
Okay.
season 1. And then I've seen the first episode of What We Do in the Shadows, and it made me laugh really hard.
Taika Waititi.
It's really funny.
I
know the new Sandman is out.
Oh, right. Okay. Oh, wait, is that out? Or
It's
is that just
out on Netflix.
Okay.
And I read the comic book years
Right.
ago.
Okay. So we can at least talk or either do like first episode. There are other one since that's new. I'm okay. Yeah, I don't know if that's yeah. I don't know how we want to do it. If we want to just be like
I
first
think
episode,
everyone is going to be talking about that next week. By the way.
Okay, let's do Sandman then. But and I'm throwing out here are the TV series that if you don't watch all of them, at least like do parts so you can like I will be watching everything of these shows though. So then to discuss, but so these are upcoming. So we'll do Sandman next week, and then at some point Scream Queens, What We Do in the Shadows, and Only Murders in the Building. So to what extent you want to watch is Avocaro says Cannibal the Musical is a good film in its own way. Oh yeah, because that was Trey Parker and Matt Stone before South Park, and it's a film.
Have you seen Orgasmo?
No.
Oh God. I love Orgasmo. That movie is so funny.
Look into that.
I'm trying to think what else they have that's like older shit that they did. But the one thing
I have heard of it. I never watched it. Okay. I don't think I've watched
It's really funny.
That's like what was it? Basketball?
Basketball, yeah, that's not a good movie. There's some really funny jokes in it, but it's not a good movie. Like
Oh, Demon Slayer says he's binging The Boys. It's entertaining fun. Yeah. We have watched through all of that. We discussed it a few episodes back. I still keep referencing. Yeah, 2 episodes.
It's a fun show.
Yeah, I keep bringing it up, kind of like just referencing small parts because so many things. Yeah, like just it's so graphic and so many things that I'm like, hey, remember like this thing was graphic. Remember how everyone exploded in The Boys? I do.
Oh my god!
Remember how that penis exploded?
I mentioned it on Tuesday. So I was playing Grim Dawn. And I'm doing the Ashes of Mammoth DLC right now, and there's this part where you go into something called the Fleshworks, and I go into it, and I'm in like it's moaning and screaming in pain this whole time.
I like it.
And I was like, is this made of people? And it's like this big monstrous flesh
human centipede.
Like the walls, the floor, everything about it is human flesh, and I said it's like being in a penis.
In a penis,
and I said it was because I was referencing The Boys.
The Boys when he's just inside and just like touching the inside, and as soon as he went and you just snorted that cocaine and he went inside someone's penis, this is not going to end well, and I was just already like
it was so bad,
uncomfortable.
I'm gonna end the poll. Most people again did not see Prey. 68% haven't seen Prey. 31% said nope, they did not like it. And
I would put nope now for the not nope.
Yeah, I did that on purpose. And then yes said 0% said yes, they liked it.
Yeah, all right. Well, we cover only the best things here. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that a lot of the movies too. It's just kind of like, here are the things that are going to be terrible, that no one's going to watch or like, but we will suffer through it for you and talk about it. But a lot of times too, like I said, like, oh, you're not even necessarily talking about the wokeness of it. It's just like, here's just bad writing or bad other things. And
yeah.
But I don't know. I still liked. Had positive things about Nope, and I'll say I actually think I liked Prey more than the other Predator films because it had the more horror, and that's just how my brain had expectations of it being horror and just the kind of modern style of it. So, but I know everyone can disagree with me on that. Like, I'm just kind of I don't know, a millennial or Gen Z sort of thing to say.
Maybe, yeah. If I had to choose between Nope or Prey, which one I liked better, I'm gonna choose Prey.
Really? Oh,
yes, I am. And I'm gonna say why, because the action sequences were well done and enjoyable, and some of the cinematography was pretty interesting. And like, I have complaints about every movie I watch, by the way, even my 10 out of 10 films. Yeah. So like, I usually am giving you all my negative thoughts.
Right. But, yeah. I figured.
I figured it's a 7 out of 10 myself. Prey.
For Prey?
Which is not a high rating for me, by the way.
And would you rate Nope?
I would rate Nope more like a 6.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you were gonna go. I was expecting you to say 6, but then I didn't know if you were going to be lower than that. But you're a harsher critic when you grade things.
Yeah, I am. I mean, I gave The Last Jedi 1 out of 10. I gave Alien Covenant 3 out of 10. I'm not nice. Like, I'm never trying to be like nice. But like, if it's if there are like, the less notes I end up taking, honestly, the better the movie probably is. Yeah. Because that means I'm not thinking.
You're not out. Yeah, you're in.
I'm engaged.
Yeah.
So like, that's one of the things I notice is whether or not I'm taking a lot of notes. But Nope bothered me because it was kind of disorganized. It felt really disorganized from a writing perspective, and that bothered me. Whereas Prey has a very clear, like, they set up expectations, they follow them, they, like, even if I didn't like the expectations, they pay them off.
You kind of okay, all right. I accept that. I have to think about. And maybe it's because Nope had some laughs in there for me. Like I said, if I laugh, then like it's just kind of like in my brain, like, okay, because even all the times that the characters said Nope when they're just, I thought that was just like, yeah, that's an appropriate time to say that. I even liked when OJ, because he's in the truck and then the monster's right over him and he just like cracks open the door. And even that, I'm like, no, don't do that. That's a bad move. Like, if you're gonna, because like it can get you. But so he did it only slowly and just like looks up into the sky. Like, I don't know why you needed to do that. You know what's up there. And then but it was a good moment because he just looks up, closes the door, and says nope. And then just ends up falling asleep because he's like, I'm not doing anything. I'm not trying to be a hero. I'm not trying to I'm just going to wait this out. And then like morning arrives and then he was able to like make it out alive. But I'm like, yeah, that is the smart move to make there. And it was just, but I appreciate the whole thing. It's just kind of like, here's this thing and nope, I'm just going to leave that there. JB also had asked, is woke an obstacle to a fun movie or a deal breaker? It depends, I think.
That was going to be my answer too, actually. It depends.
On how prevalent it is.
Yeah. Like, if they have like one scene or one character, like Invincible has some woke elements to it, but I still find the show enjoyable. I still think it's worth watching. I mean, there's like 2 characters that are very woke and I don't like them. And most people don't like them. But like, for the most part, the show's the core, what it's actually following, is very good. So I'm willing to still watch it. Not everyone is like that, but I don't know. Like, if the whole thing is woke, if so much of it is about proving a point about woke ideology for woke ideology, I'm no. That's right. That's my line. Is that it's like, is their point? the
if
woke
it's more
ideology.
activism versus like they're trying to preach this activism versus just trying to tell a story. So
Yes.
and that's where, because I've referenced this before too, like at Second City, there was a show called A Winner of Our Discontent. So it was after Trump won, and the cast was 3 white people and 3 black people. And they could be really funny people. The director was black, and I knew like he was a really funny improviser and performer. But they had a lot of preachy scenes that weren't funny. It was just pretty much kind of calling the audience like racist and stuff. And so we had a lot of people walking out, and then, but everyone else, like the servers and others, like, oh, like, they're just racist white people. Like no one had any sort of self-reflection. It was just, no, people just don't want to be called racist when they go to a comedy show. So it was just annoying. And it wasn't like a lot of things we weren't laughing at. And I knew that like the performers, they could be funny, they could have stuff, but it was more preachy than it was comedy. And that's what people didn't like. Like you can make points, but it's better if those points are subtle within the scene itself, like that you're laughing through, and you can still like, oh yeah, like, but that makes sense that like, yeah, like sometimes like white people suck or something, but you don't need to be overt about it. And so with movies and TV shows, it just depends. That's why, like, a lot of times we don't, like, I'll bring up like, hey, here's this thing that other people have complained about being, or that they're, and I also think that some people are too critical about it, like that they're too ready to be like, I'm going to hate this movie because it's going to be woke, and I don't like to go into that they might be, especially even like Thor or something, like, oh, it's going to be like so preachy about like the homosexuality or whatever else it was. But I was just like, no, like it was barely it wasn't like, I'm okay with referencing some, because I do agree with like some woke points of like kind of progressive things, but I'm not like the activist though too, like they take it too far. But there are certain things that I'm like, I'm not against the idea of like equality for everyone. Most people aren't. You just don't need to talk about it constantly or make a big deal over it, because like,
I'm totally okay with the accepting of people of differing, like non-majority lifestyles, like gay people or whatever. I'm like, I totally, like, I don't care. I don't really care. Okay. So like, oh yeah, I agree with you on that point, but don't shove it in my face all the time. That's the part that pisses me off.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why like there are certain things that like, it just depends how it's delivered in it too. So like I don't care like necessarily if it's woke. If it's written well, then I might be fine with it. And especially if it's not in your face and like overbearing in the story itself, then it won't be a deal breaker.
Yeah, like I mean, the movie Precious is clearly like, it's, and same thing with Moonlight. They're about a group of a demographic of marginalized people, but they bring it down to such the human level. Like there's an individual at the core of this, and you really hear their story, you really delve into their lives. And honestly, that's the way you do it. Like Precious is an amazing movie. That movie is so fucking good. And and it's heartbreaking to watch that movie. And they do a good job. And it's like, I wouldn't even call that progressive. It's just like, sometimes people's lives suck. I think anyone could like really relate to her situation, like, and be empathetic to her.
Right.
Like,
yeah, for sure.
It doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah. And it's been so long since I've watched it, but like, I don't remember having to watch it like, oh, like well, it's been with everything. Like I never thought like, I can't relate to this person because I'm not the right race or the right gender. Or I think my dad has talked about, what was it from? I don't remember what, A-Team or something, like what, there was like the computery guy who's a black guy, but he talked about like, oh, my dad's white. So it's just like, but he never thought like, oh, I like this guy. Like I relate to him because I love computers and love whatever. But it was like, oh, I can't relate to you because I'm not the same race that you are. And I've never thought that either. And even gender barriers where I'm like, I want to be Will Ferrell. Like you're funny. And like, so any comedian or something too. And just like, I never thought like Mindy Kaling might be the only one where I'm like, oh, she's like the Asian, like I relate to her because as an Asian female, actually I'm more competitive with it because I was always like, she's like the first female Asian. So I'm like, no, I want to be that person when I'm growing up. So I'm like, I don't want someone else to take that role.
You're feeling like camaraderie. You're more feeling competitiveness.
Yeah. Like I don't want women around here though too, because I want to be the one to take over.
The thing is though about representation in films and TV is that like so Black people make up like 12-13% of the population in the United States. You asked people based on like what they see in Hollywood, they think it's 50%. And then if you and it's like 6% for gay people in the US, gay and bi, and you ask people and they say something like 20%. And it's like we're overrepresenting things then maybe.
I'm wondering if the gay one, like where that is now, if that's still accurate, because it just seems like the more time goes on, that the higher that percentage I would think might be, but maybe not. But it's just maybe it's just also living in cities and knowing so many more.
The percentage is going up like overall when you count in non-binary people.
Yeah, okay. Well, but then and you're getting into like the reason why, I don't know if we're gonna get banned on YouTube for this, but as far as just like why the T shouldn't be part of LGB, because like they're just different things, and sexuality is different than what gender you are. So we don't have to get into all of that yet for fear of YouTube overlords.
Yeah. Don't get mad at us.
But yeah. Oh, there are way more chats here than I was realizing. Oh, G-Man was saying they them is up next. So he did mention that the other day, and so it's something on serial killer at a conversion camp thing. I didn't know we should do that for bad movie, but yeah, I think we should probably talk about that at some point because it's new and I think it has. It's going to be like woke enough that like, oh my god, I think there are already people like saying like this is so well done to like talk.
Birdcage. I hear it has a pink sing-along or something.
Oh yeah, I think I read that too. So it's going to be good. So probably bad movie. Which we're doing this Sunday. What is it? The Double Dragon. I found it's on YouTube. So we'll do that at 9 p.m. Eastern. But I do want to do they them. Maybe we'll do like a double feature. We did that last time too. The other movie we watched, Lord Coley and I watched that Mario Warfare. I might have talked about that last time too, but that was it's on YouTube and it's a whole so it's like a mini series, but they like put it all together into like a movie, and it was just like Super Mario characters in like a wartime, like kind of they had guns and stuff too. And it was fun. It was well done. In contrast to watching Rhodey, it was a very much better movie.
All right. Well, we should wrap up probably and say that book club is on Sunday. Actually.
Book club is also on Sunday. We got book club and bad movie club. Good book club and bad movie club.
Yeah, we got Fossil Future on Sunday at 9 a.m. Pacific, which is 12 p.m. Eastern.
11 a.m. Central.
So yeah, I don't know what mountain time is. I guess mountain time is 10 a.m. because that's what time. Yeah. Yes. But yeah, that's this Sunday. And then there's narrative dissonance.
I didn't do any housekeeping at the beginning. Whoops.
No,
yeah, okay. Fossil Future, Alex Epstein. 12 p.m. Eastern time this Sunday. Movie club, 9 p.m. Eastern in Discord. Narrative dissonance. You can go ahead. I don't know who the guests are. I think Carter told me and I forgot. Monday.
Well, no, I think it's up for grabs. Actually.
Up in the air. Yeah. Carter and Juliet will be there. I'll be there in chat. Let me think. Tuesday, nothing. Wednesday, Rebel Civics, and then maybe a Dangerous Thoughts. Probably. Maybe, yeah. I don't know. Carter's
no 451 next week. Yeah.
No 451.
Is that everything? Yeah, that's everything.
Okay, well, let me play this Carter clip one more time. No, also, we're trying to switch like the logo from like the whole Unsafe Space. We're switching stuff. Yeah. We're switching branding up. We're trying to do some other stuff. But we're going to do just the U for the logo for a while. And I was trying to upload it as the overlay in the corner here, but I didn't bother resizing it because I was trying to do it right before the show. So it looks like this. We were debating just having that up the entire show. It is not like actually blocking either of us, so that's
no, it's not.
So
we could have. It's blocking my name, but that's the only thing it's blocking.
You see Alex. You do just see the Alex. So, and it just repeats Alex after the slash.
And then it's of all trades.
So we're not really missing out exactly. So.
You're missing my last name. That's the only thing.
Oh, that's right. Maselli. Okay, but I don't even put my last name on there, so it's not too much.
When she put it up there to test it, I would have said, just leave it like that. Just do that.
You should have. All right, and then we've got this Carter clip.
Cool it down, 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 my pretty. Bad, bad bitch. Make the bad, bad glitchy. Fine, 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 fine.
Just add a large F next to it. I'm just going to leave this here for the rest of the episode. We should. Ooh, I don't think it'll let me. Maybe? No, I don't know. No, I think it takes it away. Oh, and I don't want it to do that because I already did a new credits. I added some stuff to what I had last week. So just because I could. Once I learned that, I'm like, oh, I can do stuff on here. Then I did. So all right, yeah, thank you guys for watching. I've got to go double check on some ducks and geese out here in the dark, and my cats are hungry too. Elsie, because my boyfriend closed the door, so now she's just been stuck in here and scratching it forever. Oh, we can't see Alex. She's just hiding behind the Oh, also, I'm going to advertise this shirt because I took it off. It's fellas. I think it's the same. Let me take away this overlay. It's larger on the back. So we've got fellas. Watch Ryan Long, and maybe someday he'll come onto the channel. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. We love you, or I love you. I shouldn't speak on behalf of Alex, but I will.
I don't love anyone. What are you talking about?
I love you guys.
Oh, we just got a new super chat.
Oh, it's not coming through for me on. Oh, there we go. All right. Silverlock, thank you. He says, have a good night. You have a great night, Silverlock. The best night ever. And where did I see? Oh, JB says I should make Carter rap my ringtone. We all should. Actually, I should make that an intro. I should make that the Dangerous Thoughts intro. It's just him rapping. I'll do that next time without telling him. He'll love it.
He would laugh.
Elvicara says plucking eggs from underneath a goose can be fun. I've done that when I was trying. Chewy's sitting on 4 eggs right now that might be hatching like tomorrow, within the next couple of days. Tomorrow might be the day, so we'll see if they actually happen. I don't know how good she's been at sitting on them or not, but we shall see. But yeah, so just do that. Carter will be so mad if I do it.
Do it.
I am working on one, so we should. Okay, well, thank you guys. I should put the other. There we go. Thank you guys, and have a good night. I need to make the StreamYard link for book club still, so I'll do that by tomorrow night. Come join us for book club. Email if you speak at unsafespace.com if you want to do it. If you've just started, like you want to just be in the chit chat, and you even if you haven't completed it or something, you're welcome to join and chat with us. And movie night. If you're in Discord, come join us for movie night. It's always fun to hang out with you guys, except for Motown. Everyone agrees with that. So, all right. Thank you, Alex, as always. And we'll see you guys later.
Thanks for sticking around until the end. If you're new to Unsafe Space, check out our deep content library that includes discussions with everyone from James Lindsay to Brett Weinstein. And please consider helping to fund our work by visiting unsafespace.com/donate. You can find us on a variety of social media platforms, and you can find a community of like-minded individuals on our Unsafe Space Discord server, which is open to financial supporters at any level. We hope to see you there.
Warning, this is an unsafe space. dangerous ideas have been detected. The content of this production is known by the state of California to cause unregulated ideation that may be harmful to bureaucrats. Association with the following individuals or tacos is strictly prohibited. Apropos of nothing, I was just wondering how would you feel about another pandemic? Your president is in full control of his mental faculties. If you think about it, no one should be allowed to express opinions. But don't. Think about it, I mean. That's not your job. Thinking has been scientifically proven to be less efficient than compliance. Science, scientific, and scientifically are registered trademarks of the World Economic Forum. Unauthorized use is prohibited. Computer voice courtesy. Never mind, that last line is fake news. Please disregard it and return to your safe space immediately. There will be cake.